We good now? Yay, we fixed it. We're good.
All right, so we're ready, guys. In the back, if you guys will have a seat.
Okay. You want me to start? Can I go? Hey, hello. Hi, everybody. So this is a brand new part of the tour, and Kaylin and I decided that it would be, I think, good for a lot of the women who have come here today to hear from other women who are in this space and have now had, I don't know, I've been in for about 3.5 years. You much longer, right? How long?
Many years.
Many years, many years. And as women in crypto, I find that especially the women, like, just have some kind of spark about them. And for me personally, I've always been someone that likes to be kind of on the cutting edge. I was a gamer back in the day. I've always loved technology. And when I found Hex specifically, I realized that it was something special and it was something that could really change the world. So y'all are going to get to learn a little bit about the two of us, just in general for everyone, but really this message is for a lot of the women here, just in terms of wanting to uplift you, let you know that you're not alone in this journey, and that we need you. Because in finance in general, right, like it's a very male-dominated space, and that's even more so in crypto. So a little bit about my backstory and how I got here is I was selling my home just north of Austin, Texas. I sold my little house that was on almost an acre, and mostly because I wanted to pay off my student loan debt. I was tired of having student loan debt. It was just this like, huge monkey on my back, and I didn't want to deal with it anymore. And at that time, I knew that with whatever profit I was going to make after, selling the house and paying that off, and then paying off some debt and paying off my student loan debt, I wanted to try and set myself up financially. And that was really the first time in my life that I decided to take control of my finances in a more mature way, I guess. Like, I've always been smart about my funds. I've always had a savings account. I put into my 401k when I worked at different jobs. But at this point, I was like, look, I don't want to work for someone else my entire life. I was already on that path. I had already left working in a 9-to-5 office job. I started working on organic farms, and that was the life for me. That transition changed my life. So, like, firstly. And then as I moved more into a space of, okay, how can I set myself up so that A, I'm not working for anyone else for the rest of my life, and B, I'm not working for the rest of my life? How do I get to love what I do and ensure that I've set myself up for success in that way? And at that time, when I was selling the home, I was like, okay, well, 401k, right? 104Ks. Looking into that a little bit. And then I looked into a high yield savings account, which you can get like 2%, which, and this, I've learned this all now, right? Had I not come into crypto and learned about Hex, I don't know that I would have had the knowledge that, your money the inflation rate is just so astronomical that your money sitting in a savings account at whatever abysmal percent per year is not even going to be able to catch up with, what's going on with inflation. And then the other thing that I started looking into was options trading. I thought, oh, okay, a stock market. I'll start to learn a little bit about that and find out how I can, make my money work for me. Well, luckily, I was about 80% of the way through that options trading course. And a good friend of mine who I knew in Austin, who was we loved going out and listening to a certain type of electronic music called drum and bass. And I met this guy dancing, and just a really good friend of mine. He knew that I had bought Bitcoin in 2017. Just a little bit of it, because I was, again, into technology, really excited about, what's this new shiny thing. And at that time, he said, hey, why don't you take what you put into Bitcoin and diversify? Put a little bit of it into these other little coins. And I didn't know anything about anything when it came to crypto, but I trusted him. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good thing to try. So I think I bought ADA, Cardano, Ripple, maybe. Just a ton of little, and again, at the time I had no idea what any of these were, but I was just like trusting my friend. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then I forgot about it completely. I didn't look at my portfolio. I didn't listen to crypto news. I didn't even, listen to crypto content creation, nothing like that. I was just like, cool, I did that. I'm going to go now, bye. And lived my life for a few years. And then this friend, unbeknownst to him that I was selling my home and had money to invest, came to me again and he said, hey, you remember all those little coins I told you to invest in? I want you to take all of that, which was not much at the time, and put it into Hex. And I thought, well, obviously, like, he's been around the block at this point, kind of knows, what he's talking about. And part of me, even though I was already on this financial journey, wanting to make sure that I was secure myself, part of me, because crypto is it's a different language, right? First of all, there's so many words that if you're not into it and you're not listening to content constantly, you don't even know half of the words that are coming out of our mouths. So it was a little daunting. I was just like, man, okay, this sounds really great, but part of me almost wanted to be like, can I just give you a few $100 to, play with it? He said, absolutely not. He said, you need to know what you're doing with your money. You need to know where your money's going, and you need to know that you can be your own bank. And I'm so grateful that he did that, because I'm all of those things now. I know where my money's at. I know that I interact with that code, and I'm the only one who can take and put into my wallets. I am my own bank, and no one can stop me. There's no middleman. There's no one in between me and my funds. So just that alone, just that journey of wanting to be financially smart, right? And then learning about Hex and all of these people who had already found financial freedom through it, I thought, this is it. That this is the key. This is truly what we need to have a financial revolution. So as I dug in, I spent hours and hundreds of hours listening to a couple different content creators who really spoke kind of the language I knew from options trading. And again, I'm so glad that my friend got to me at that point, because had I stayed in options trading, I probably would have gotten totally wrecked. Completely would have lost all the money that I'd put in that. I'm 100% sure that would have happened. So what I ended up doing was taking that little chunk from the options trading that I'd put in that account, and taking a little chunk from the 401k account, and a little chunk from the high yield savings account. I started putting all that into Hex. I was like, this makes way more sense. And I had no clue about cycles. I didn't know crypto had cycles. I didn't know bull market, bear market. I had no idea. I was just so convinced that I understood the technology and the power of a T-share. I mean, to have your money print more money, and I use money, in a general term, but it's Hex, right? The Hex prints more Hex. So anytime that you're staking your Hex, it's just going to keep accruing for you over time. And that really just kind of changed my whole view of, what it was that I found valuable. And what I wanted to do was continue spreading that message, right? I am down whatever percent, we still are down, right? I bought on the way up, right? Without knowing it. So I think my first buy was 5 cents, 14 cents, 20-something cents. And I have not once been upset about the change of the price, because I knew that the money I was putting in at first, the first thing is that I knew it was a gamble. I was like, I'm willing to risk this. And again, as I learned more, I was willing to risk more, because I was like, this is so sound. Everything that I've just learned in the last year financially, none of that makes sense compared to this. So as I accrued that all on the way up, got all my family and friends in near the top with Staker app, and then just rode the whole thing down, not even knowing it, right? And then we go through the most brutal, the longest bear market crypto has ever seen. And I'm just like, people were talking about green candles once upon a time, and a bull market, what does that even mean? I've never experienced that. I don't know what that euphoria feeling is. There's this chart that goes around every now and then that's a meme. And it's the chart of a cycle, basically. And it goes, disbelief and horror, and as the price is going down, anger, yeah. And then it's going up, and you're like, confusion, disbelief, and then euphoria is all the way at the top. And I'm just like, oh, someday I'm going to feel that. But the difference for me is that my life, because I decided to really dig into this community, and a huge part of that was the women. finding other women who are like-minded and are boss babes, like, I mean, seriously, every woman that I've met that I know in the crypto space is getting it. Like, they are out there doing something for the community, whether that's they've got their own course, they're making merchandise, they're doing content, like all of them have something unique and awesome that they're bringing to the space. And I saw that and thought, well, shit, like, I want to do that too. So I was encouraged by, watching multiple women do this. And then, of course, also, all of our content creators are often saying things like, we need all of us. We need every single one of us. Because someone that's going to watch my content is not going to watch RG's content. Like, I'm sweet and wonderful and charming, and he's a dirty old pirate. Like, it's like you're talking to two completely separate audiences. So it just goes to show that, I really just want to encourage women in general. And I every now and then I was more steady with this, but I haven't been as steady with it lately. But I have a show called Woman Crush Wednesday. So every Wednesday, when I can, I'll bring a woman on that I've seen pop up in the community. Like, oh, hey, you're new. Let me interview you on my show so the community can get to know you and what it is you're doing and how you're building within this space. And of all the women, this one right here, I'm not gonna lie, she is probably the most underappreciated, undervalued, underpaid woman in our community. I mean, the work that she does, the things that she puts on, and like this would not happen without her, for sure. So to be on this team and like get to really just put forth our best efforts and live this life of teaching people what true DeFi is and how you can truly be free through this one cryptocurrency. I mean, it's life-shattering. Like, it's changed my life. And again, even though the money is not at a 10 or a 20 or a 100 or a 10,000x, my life is at a 10,000x, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So, yeah.
Nice. Hard to follow. That is hard to follow. I'm not gonna wear that. I'm not gonna wear that.
You can hold it.
I'm gonna hold it next to you.
Yes. So I actually want to speak from a little different perspective of the wife, right? I've been married for, let's not even try and guess, 17 years, something like that. I'm much older than I look, but we'll just keep it at that. And I know for many of the wives that are sitting in this room, you didn't find crypto, right? Your husband found crypto and he just kind of drags you into it, right? And you're kind of sitting here, like, yeah, I've heard some of this before, but he's got this. This is his thing, and I just kind of want to hear what it is that he's spending our money on. And I was kind of in that same position. I found crypto kind of on my own. I don't want to go too much into that Degen story because I come from a good Christian background and my grandparents could be watching this live show right now. But no, I was doing a little bit of online poker playing, just to be honest. Just something to do in your spare time. Poker's fun. I come from a really competitive family, so I felt like online was a way for me to get a little bit of an advantage. And what happened was it kind of became illegal in the United States to transact with real money, right? And so all the sites got shut down except for a couple where you could transact with Bitcoin. That was the only way in, that was the only way out. So I wasn't so much interested in Bitcoin as I was in poker. But being that I was playing in a couple tournaments and I won a little bit, I left some in the wallet, as you would say, on the site. And so, life takes over and you stop paying attention. Working a full-time job, I have 3 children. So it just basically sat there. And it must have been like $200. And so I logged back in maybe like a year later. And now all of a sudden this $200 is like $2,000. And I'm like, well, why am I so concerned with poker? What is this? What can I do with this? And my husband's like, see, I've been telling you, I've been watching this guy, and he says that all you need is 1 Bitcoin and you can retire and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, hon, you go ahead and you go do that. You keep this Bitcoin and you go and play. So then COVID came around. And here I am again, competitive with my little brother. That's our thing. We just, whatever he does, I want to do it better than him. So he's trading options. I was like, I can trade options. I'm the big sister. You can't do anything better than me, right? So I'm trading these options, and I'm winning, and I'm losing, and I'm winning and losing, and it's it's just a horrible, horrible cycle. I mean, one morning, I'm in California, so if you don't know, you have to wake up with the markets, and if you wake up late, you're messed up. So I mean, I woke up 20 minutes late and had lost thousands of dollars, and I was just devastated. Meanwhile, my husband's over here through what we call DeFi Summer, and he's invested in probably 100 different altcoins, and his portfolio has just skyrocketed over the little $2,000 that I gave him, right? Meanwhile, my portfolio is just like, just all over the place. So now I'm like, what is this crypto you're doing? Like, I need to learn more about what this is. And I say all that to say that we can't just allow our husbands to control the wallet and to not know what it is that they're doing, right? Because number one, this isn't the bank, this isn't a situation to where if something happens to them, and they pass away, that someone is just going to come to you and say, oh, here's your crypto, right? Here's all the money that he made. You need to know exactly how to access those wallets. You need to know how he stores those seed phrases. You actually need to have your own wallet, right? Where you control that, where you understand how to press those buttons. I think that's what really drew me in for Hex as opposed to all the other cryptos. For him, you know, he did when the what was it called, RG, the AA? When the AA lobby came around, he did go really, really heavy into Hex, but he really was still playing around in a lot of different ones. But then when he explained to me the mechanics of Hex, to me that was a no-brainer, right? Where else can you put your money, time lock it, come back later, and it's more? Even if it's not dollar value more, coins, it is more coins than what you started with, right? So you time lock 5,000, and now every day you're getting that interest, whether it's 6 to 8 more Hex every single day, and you come back 3 years later, and now you have, 5,500 Hex or 10,000 Hex, whatever it is, right? To me, that made sense. Because it wasn't something where I needed to wake up with the market. It wasn't something where I needed to, hurry up and catch this high. It was something that I could just set and forget, and I could still focus on all the things that we have going on in our lives with our children. A strategy that I embarked on when I first got into Hex was to make these birthday staking ladders, right? As women, we are like the preparers of the birthdays, of Christmas, of all these things, right? And so that's what I said. I said, okay, we know that when our daughter turns 16, she's gonna want a car or at least have something for a down payment. We know when she turns 18, there's gonna be a graduation and there's gonna be, college expenses. We know when she turns 21, she's gonna think she's an adult and that she can run her own money, right? All these things. And so that's how I went into Hex. I said, I'm gonna make a staking ladder that goes for these milestones in my children's birthdays. That way I don't forget it, and I know that I am looking out for their future without playing this, this stock market game, this high and low. So that's my main message. I'm not one to just stand up here and talk all day. I actually do not like doing this at all, if I'm being honest. But I just really felt like this is a message that a lot of the men don't cover, as far as us as women having the responsibility over our own financial freedom, right? And really understanding what buttons we should be pressing. So that's pretty much it. We still have 10 more minutes. So what RG would like us to discuss is some of the things that we do on this tour during this little intermission that we have before our next speaker comes up. Is the next speaker here, just so I can know?
He's not here yet. He's gonna be here shortly.
Okay, all right, and so that
Until he
speaker
gets
is, yes, that speaker is primarily in, or 100% in real estate. So that session is all about real estate. So anyways, a little bit of my background as far as doing these tours and organizing these type of events. Like SJ said, I feel like the best way, especially as a woman, to get involved in this very male-dominated space, I mean, you can just read the room and see that we are the minority, right, is to bring your skill set to the table. I think that this community is one of the most inclusive as far as the women in like trying to educate each other, trying to be supportive of each other. And so there are a lot of little group chats that happen within Telegram, within Twitter, where you can reach out to one of us, and then we can help connect you with the other ladies in the community to where you can ask those questions. Because sometimes we ask our husband, and then he wants to give you this a content creator explanation, right? Where it just goes on, and he's using all these words that we've never heard before, but somehow he swears we understand what they're talking about, right? That's not going to happen in the ladies' chat. We are going to keep it very, very simple and try to make sure that we all understand. Yeah, this guy. And so that's just one resource if you would like to get involved. But as far as myself, when I looked at this community, I said, what are my skill sets and what can I bring to the table that I feel like can help, grow the mission, to help spread awareness. And I'm not a content creator. I do not enjoy streaming. I really don't want to be the face of anything. But organizing, that's something that I've done, for the last 20 years. I ran a infant toddler center, 2 preschools, and an elementary school. I was the executive director of that, and then I got my master's in nonprofit leadership. And so we started another nonprofit that was non-religious that just focused on STEM education. And so I've been organizing programs for the last 20 years, right, before these 3 years on tour. And so there were a team of German guys. They go by the name of Crypto Sparbook. And they just, they were newly minted millionaires. They were so happy that Hex had changed their lives that they're like, hey, we're going to get sports cars. We're going to wrap them in Hex and Postchain, and we're going to drive around the United States teaching people about Hex. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. So let me see. Like, their schedule just really lined up with mine. I happened to be in Vegas. Then they were going to go to San Diego, where I'm from. And they were giving away 5,555 Hex at every event. And at that time, that was a little over $2,000. So I'm like, hey, if I got a chance to win $2,000, let me go see what these guys are doing. So I walk into the first event, and as a event organizer or program manager, I am sorry if you were watching this, Avid and Patrick, but y'all know. Y'all know. I mean, there was no registration. They were late. I mean, there were no chairs set up. It was just a mess, right? And so I said, hey guys, it looks like you guys could use a little help, right? Do you want me to help you in some type of way? I'm not, COVID had closed the schools down, so I was fine financially. I didn't need to be paid, but I was really passionate about this community. And I said, hey, if you guys want me to help you, then I'll do that. And then that turned into a year, right? A year of traveling the United States with those guys, organizing their tour. And then RG says, hey, I can do this. I have a message that I want to deliver. I want to fill stadiums. And the way we're going to do that is that we have to be consistent. We can't take these breaks. We have to keep this tour going. We have to keep filling rooms until we can fill bigger and bigger rooms. And then he asked me to come on board and to help do that. And so that's what we've been doing for the last year, have been traveling the United States. And then this year, we're going to actually be leaving the United States, going to Europe, going to Australia, and possibly Canada. So that's kind of, how this team came together. That's my skill set as far as just organizing events and making sure that everybody has what they need and has a good experience. That's really what it is about for me. So, yeah.
And I'm the actress.
Yeah. So we have a couple of big events that are approaching. We have Las Vegas coming up, 369. If you guys don't know, that's a big number within the Hex community. So we've taken those dates and made an annual event out of it. So we'll be in Las Vegas from March 6th through the 9th. We have a big 3-day event, lots of fun. And then another seminar, a full-day seminar with some of our, most notable speakers in the community. RG, of course. We have Axis Alive. We have Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto. We have 2 panels of guests. And you'll see, like, Postchain we're catching the eyes, right? It used to be these couple of streamers here and there that no one knew, that, you know, they wanted to call scammers. Now, Ben Armstrong is like, oh, I'm coming to the Post Chain Tour, you know, event in Las Vegas. I'm going to be on a panel. We got DIY Investing. He has 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So you can see that the community is growing and it's getting recognized by some of the bigger crypto influencers in the space. And then another really big event that I really want to share with you guys, because you guys are so close, is we are going to be doing another cruise September 29th through October 6th, and it leaves out of Galveston, Texas. And to me personally, the cruises are the best experience, because when you go to events like Vegas, you know, like we sold out of VIP tickets, right? So if you want to come to dinner with the streamers, you're not going to be able to do it because it's already sold out. So you have this group that's going to dinner over here, and this group that's going to dinner over here. And then it's just, you know, these people are staying at this hotel and these over here. When you're on a cruise, it's a different bonding experience. Everybody is stuck on this same boat together, having dinner together, socializing, networking, and then the impact that it has on the other people on the boat. Danny and Camille have been on a cruise with us. They know how it goes. We're in this Pulse Hex gear, and I guarantee you, every employee, every guest on that ship is like, who are you guys? Why are you here? What is this about? Right? Because that's how our energy is. So if you have the opportunity, I would definitely look at coming on us on the next Post Chain Cruise with us. Did I do it? Did we get it? All right. Yes. And our next speaker has arrived. Did you want to do an intro for him, or he'll introduce himself?
It's a primitive.
Introducing me.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna be going
This is
live, so
Yes.
so just FYI, I'm gonna get it set up real quick.
Okay.
And then here's the mic for our live
Oh.
stream.
Cool, thank you. We are live. Let me see. Can everyone say hi real quick so they know? All right. There you go. Thank you. All right, get this guy set up. There we go. Give me just a second. I stole this out of my truck. Oh, that's perfect. I got lucky. Can y'all hear me in the back? Okay. Does anyone know what I'm presenting on today? Because I honestly don't. That's why I'm asking. I came, Dave and I talked about it, and came unscripted, kind of intentionally, because I wasn't sure what the audience was going to be like, and so we're going to kind of do a show of hands and see what you guys want me to talk about. I'll tell you a little bit about my experience and what I do and what I've done, and we'll kind of go where you guys want to go with it. So, mainly crypto folks, is that who's here? Are there any real estate people here? Are there anyone that's both? Doing both? Okay, great. So a little bit about my background. I've been in real estate about 18 years. Main thing that I do now is I flip houses is the main thing I do, and I kind of say that loosely. Really what we do is affordable housing, okay? We invest that anything falls under the umbrella of affordable housing. Kind of how, you know, my background and where led me to this place was 17, 18 years ago. You know, broke as a joke, live in an apartment, had no money, read a couple books, said you could buy real estate with no money, which appealed to me because I had none. And so I figured that out, bought about 25 rentals in 2 years, working a full-time job, using a lot of creative stuff, and learned that the rentals were great, except that I hated them enjoyment-wise, and I needed more cash. So I said, I'm going to flip houses, went out, flipped a house, lost a bunch of money, and I'm like, shit, that didn't work out too well. And so I went back to the drawing board and said, you know, looked at everything I did wrong, which was basically everything, and said, okay, if I do this different, that different, there's about 6 or 7 things that I made mistakes on that were pretty substantial. Said if I do those things different, probably have a different result next time. So I made $60,000 in 60 days on my next flip, and that ultimately became what I call 7 fundamentals of real estate. So I've written a book on that, do teaching, coaching on that. And since that point in time, like built out a team where we still have rentals, we flip houses every month. Done a lot with owner finance notes. I love owner financing notes. We've bought mobile home parks, RV parks. We've got several large land development deals we're going on. And I enjoy teaching, speaking, and helping others. So what do you guys want me to talk about? Anybody? Help me out here. Show of hands. And I've raised a lot of money. We have one hand. Go for it.
Any advice from taking profits for the bull run to invest into real estate?
Yeah, okay. So that's what David, that's why I thought where this was going to go. Okay, so I'll pull a little bit more. So are you guys mainly, collectively, are you looking for, you're making money with crypto, you want ways to put it in real estate safely, passively? Is that kind of an overall feel? Would y'all be happy if we kind of go in that direction with things?
Definitely.
Okay.
I will say this, I'm curious to know, because obviously if you start with no money, you've got to be getting money. So maybe some encouragement too on
Yeah.
ways to get started and kind of leveraging income like that.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Let me think about how to package this. So over my single family career. So a couple things I want to say. If you're looking to move crypto earnings, what's that? If you want to move crypto earnings from crypto to real estate passively, I'm going to give you some ideas and things to look for and to avoid some pitfalls. And then before I go there, let me talk about how we do everything with no money. Okay, so it's probably what I speak the most about. So whenever I got into real estate, I had no money. So I was forced to learn how to do things without money. Forced to learn creative real estate strategies, learn how to raise money, how to negotiate deals better, all that kind of stuff by necessity. So literally to this day, if I have a new coaching student, for example, and let's say I've got 50 grand or 100 grand to invest, first thing I tell them is pretend you have zero. Let's start with zero and figure out how we can go get deals done that way. So it obviously includes or involves leverage, okay, which is raising money, and which is to steal from Kiyosaki, the number one skill set of an entrepreneur is the number one thing that you need to learn how to do. And then 1A is also know how to perform with the money that you raise. Because there's obviously a lot of that goes on in every market where people are just raising. And it started terrifying me years ago. I'm like, this is not going to end well for a lot of people. And it hasn't. So with that being said, if any of you are looking to get in real estate, I don't throw that around lightly, go raise money and do this and this and that. I heard Grant Cardone say, we're not supposed to toot our own horn. Your mom said don't toot your own horn. Well, Grant toots his horn, quite a bit. And he said his mom told him, if you got a horn, why don't you toot it? And so I do toot my horn a little bit like this and say that, after 500 plus deals we've done, I've kept a perfect track record with my lenders. Okay, I don't sit to brag or boast, but a little bit I do, but also to say, if you're looking to invest with somebody, track record matters, and their business model matters. It's not like I'm some expert. It's that I had a really good, sound model to follow. I had some really good mentoring and support to help me keep that track record. So that being said, 90% of deals that we do, we use 100% of other people's money on every deal that we do. I mean, we don't put any money into the deals. So people a lot of times well, I don't believe you. How could that be true? All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, you don't have to believe me, but it is. It's what we do. So number one, how we get 100% financing on our deals, number one is you have a good deal. It starts with you have to have a good deal and you have to have margins that an investor is going to be comfortable with and that you're comfortable with. And so it all starts there. So number one starts with the deal. Number two is the dude. It's the borrower. It's you being able to communicate that to your lender. So there's whole marketing things that you can do to attract private lenders. You got to be careful with SEC. We don't do much with online marketing. I wrote a book about the subject, so I have a lot of lenders reach out. There's ways that you can go about that, but that's the easiest part of the real estate game is the money. It really is. A lot of people don't believe that. That's the easiest part. But that's the simple way to put it. Okay, so but we do, whether it be single family, rentals, mobile home parks, RV parks. We've bought 3 tracts of land that's close to 400 acres total. In the last couple of years, 100%, private capital. One of them, I take that back. I did a partnership with me and a friend. But the other, we raised all the money for that. Developing a subdivision, all private money. So it's very easy to do and it's doable. So that can kind of take us to, if you guys are looking to invest in real estate, are any of y'all looking to invest yourself, like go out and do deals? Or you would all be looking to do it passively? Or some of y'all don't even give 2 craps about real estate, which is fine.
Not until 2025.
What's that?
Not until
Wait a year on the sidelines. Gotcha.
When you say do deals, I guess you're saying more so from a standpoint of doing the deal to either make money then and there, right? So, off of the deal, because it's a good enough deal where there's money to be made at closing, or doing a deal as in rental income. Which one are you talking about?
Either way, just like you or your LLC, like you're personally going to go out and buy real estate yourself, individually, versus investing with like a syndicator doing a big deal. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I'm interested in buying some real estate, but not for like the whole.
Yeah, like flip, fix and flip, or wholesale, or something like.
Hold 15 years, whatever, like that kind of.
Oh, to buy and hold. Yeah. So with that, I'm one of the, I'm kind of in the arena of that. There's probably never a bad time to do that if your cash on cash kind of makes sense, and it's a sustainable deal, like your positive cash flow, and there's other numbers that work on it. I'm not a speculator, so everything that I do is in that sphere of affordable housing. Okay, so I don't go, and I define that typically median price house points and below. Median price housing and below is where we focus on. Very rarely do we go north of that. Okay.
Frank, are looking forward towards government assistance when you say affordable housing?
No, I'm not.
Down to that level.
Yeah, so that comes up a lot. I'll say affordable housing, people think, oh, you do Section 8. And used to do a lot of Section 8. We don't do any Section 8 now. No, affordable housing, when I say that, it's what your typical middle class family can afford, or lower, going into even lower income.
What capital do you look to put into a property when you buy it? You want it, or you'd like to have it in great shape.
Yeah,
But
so
you're not gonna put a new roof on it, or new AC units and this and that, unless you discount the price enough to cover that, plus a margin of contingency. So
yeah, so his question is like, I think is it a question about what kind of margins do we want at the end of the day when we're in the deal?
Well,
And
eventually, but I'm just wondering, do you shy away from properties that are capital intensive after you buy them?
No.
You'll fix them up and
yeah,
put them in shape.
yeah,
Exactly all that.
we turn shitty into pretty. That's one of our mottos. Is the uglier typically the better. If my wife says that the property's cute, it's probably not a deal. Is another key indicator. No, we typically buy the distressed, dilapidated properties, but we buy them so that we can afford to put all those repairs in it and bring it to like new, and still have 25 to 30% equity in the deal. Those are the quick numbers. How we define affordable housing, though, median price housing and below, and that can go way low. All right, meaning mobile home parks, RV parks. Like some of our RV parks, we even like owner finance the RVs that people live in the RV parks, and that's about as low as we go, but it's pretty low. So we operate in that sphere for multiple reasons. So if you're looking to invest yourself, or you're looking to passively invest with somebody, you really want to look at their business model. So say, for example, someone's has a business model that's operating north of the median price housing point. So what you want to look for, obviously, risks, rewards. A lot of lead investors, syndicators, obviously they want to pitch all the rewards and the upside, which may be true. But Sam Zell, if y'all know who he is, used to say low risk and high reward. So my problem going north of that median housing price point is that you really don't have too many, if any, exit strategies other than one. And so if that one exit strategy doesn't work out, you're stuck like Chuck. Guess who's been stuck like Chuck a few times playing in that price point? And it's very painful, right? I took losses. My lenders were fine, but I took losses. I took hits. So I've just decided I'm not going to play up there very often. Sometimes we do. But we pick and choose very strategically when we're going to go there or we're not. I like median price housing and below. Why? Because we have options. We can flip them, we can rent them, we sell with owner financing, which I absolutely love. We could Airbnb them, or we could just flip them to another investor and wholesale them pretty quickly. So why all this is important is if you're looking to invest, or you're looking to invest with somebody, these are the things you need to understand. What are the benefits, what are the pros and cons of this investment strategy versus high end or some other strategy that may kind of be a one-trick pony. And that's why I'm not risk adverse, but I like to choose my risk wisely. So that's kind of why I do that. So when you start talking to investors, looking at different types of investment opportunities, those are the things you got to look at. What's my risk versus reward? Once again, I really like low risk, right? Because I'm fear-based like a lot of people, but I'm rational about it. And I want there to be at least a decent, if not a great upside potential, which could be short-term or it could be long-term. Could be long-term.
I have a relative who works at a oil refinery,
Mm-hmm.
and he buys houses specifically from school district tax rolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And gets them cheap.
Yeah.
Just puts some lipstick on it, gets it going, and rents it out to somebody.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
he's a good renter, then he goes to them and says, how would you like to own this house?
Yeah.
Gets a handful of cash out of them, does seller financing.
Yeah.
He's done it all his life.
It is a wonderful strategy. If you just do that strategy alone, you can do really, really well. I have a story around that strategy. As a matter of fact, one of my best friends and now business partners for several years. We go back 15, 16 years. And I was, mainly a rental guy and flipping and owner finance at that time. Those were my three main things. And I stumbled upon owner financing because I was doing a make-ready or having a make-ready done for one of my rentals. And it was it's very frustrating when you take a property back from a tenant and they just wreck it. And my painter was looking for a house, and I'm like, I'll sell this thing to you. You just got to fix it up. So had no clue how to do it. We figured it out, and he's been there for like the last 12 years. Hasn't paid off the loan, hasn't refinanced. I don't understand why. I still know the guy and work with the guy. I'm like, he doesn't refinance it. So it's just fine with me. So I stumbled upon that strategy. I'm like, man, I really like this a lot better than rentals. So we do a lot of those. But anyway, so my friend and I, we talk, meet every now and then. We used to meet and talk and about just deals and stuff like that. And he used to talk about doing some stuff with mobile homes. Tax auctions, because he would go to the tax auctions every single month. He still does that. I don't want anything to do with the tax auctions. To me, it's a waste of time. It's too unpredictable. We do marketing. We wait for them to call us, right? That's how we like to operate. He likes to go the tax auction. Doesn't cost any. It takes time, no money. That works for him, and he gets deals. He's really good at it. I'd rather spend a little bit of money and not spend time and get deals come to us. So he would tell me about these mobile home deals he's doing, and he's down in Alvin, Angleton area. Yeah, okay. And I'm not judging. I mean, my family's all rednecks, scoundrels, and whatever. But I'm like, oh, what's that?
There's a few down there.
Yeah, well, my family's all over the place, but I come from a long line of rednecks. And so he's telling me about his mobile homes and investing. I'm like, Dave's just old redneck. There ain't nothing to that. And he'd tell me another story, and I'm like, that's cute, these little mobile homes. I'm not going to do that. And so after 2 or 3 years, he kept talking about mobile homes. And so I was like, tell me what you're doing with these mobile homes, all right? Because maybe I'm the fool here and I need to look closer. And so he told me his model. And so the basic model was he would go to a tax auction, buy a cheap piece of land, ideally a cheap piece of land with a mobile home on it, meaning a half acre, an acre, you could get for $10,000 or $15,000, if not cheaper, pretty easily. And then there would either be a mobile home on it, or you'd move a mobile home on it, maybe 15, 20 grand at the time. Be all in it for 30, maybe 40 if you do some utilities. And then you'd owner finance it for $85,000 to $95,000. They put $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 down, plus a 10 or 12% interest rate on top of that each and every month. Those numbers are pretty easy to determine, like that's a pretty good return, right? And then occasionally you take the property back. It doesn't happen a lot, but they'll default, and then you just go do the same thing over and over again. So that's a strategy that works really well. So we do a lot of mobile home deals, mobile homes in parks, mobile home on land, all that kind of stuff. We absolutely love those.
Looking at the interest rate they're paying, they're looking more probably, what's my monthly?
Some of them do, but yeah, you're right. A lot of them don't. What's the monthly cost, you know? And there's other benefits to it. I mean, we charge origination points and fees on the mobile homes and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, honestly, like I really enjoy that from the investment side of you, from like an enjoyment perspective. I just found out years ago, like I really don't, less tenants in my life is typically a better thing. Even if it's like a cheap old RV or mobile home, like typically people who are owners and have a vested interest in that property and want some pride of ownership and to take care of it, and they've got skin in the game. And, you know, the American dream is to, you know, pursue freedom and happiness and have a home, damn it. And a lot of people can't afford a home, and that looks like a mobile home some days, you know, to some people. And to some, it's an RV. And I'd rather help them have that opportunity than, you know, not all, and I'm not saying this against all tenants. I'm just telling you, I'm a little bit once bitten, twice shy for my 80s folks in here, big hairband people. And, but it's just there's a lot of headaches, you know, that involved in that business. And I still have rentals, but most of my rentals, when they come vacant, they automatically go to owner finance. Tenant wants to stay 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I have a tenant now for 15 years. Great. They'll move out. We're going to owner finance it and get a 10 to 12% return and not have to worry about repairs, maintenance, taxes, all that kind of stuff. Okay, what else? Go ahead.
How would you compare new residential construction development to flipping in terms of how much work you got to put in, how much you're getting out of it?
Okay, good question. So the question is comparing new construction, residential construction, to like a flip. So one, I hate new construction. Like that's not my thing. I've done it. Your risk is going up. Okay, so you break ground on new construction development, or even just a single build. You know, if you were just like absolutely flying through it, you're 6 months, but you're probably 9 to 12 months typically, if not longer. Okay, one of our construction projects, we were held up over 6 months just on getting plans. There's a story behind that, but it's not that untypical. So one, your risk is going up immediately with new construction. You don't know what the market's going to look like in 12 months from now. You don't know what interest rates are. You don't know, like COVID kind of crap and all this. Like, you really don't know. So your risk is already going through the roof. Okay. A single family flip, we can acquire those multiple deals each and every month, close on them the same month, and maybe be on market the next month. Okay. And when you really look at the returns, like say like if you're looking at like a 15% return, like very safe on a flip deal, that's real quick, fast, and easy, versus an unknown with new construction, it's like I don't like it. That's the reason I don't do it. There's too many variables in there that you can't determine, you can't factor in. And there's a reason like a lot of home builders turn into flippers. I don't see a lot of flippers turn into home builders. There's probably a reason for that. Right, it's just, it's a risky game. I mean, there's definitely some upside, but it's just not a game I play, anymore. We do have one subdivision development, and when I say development, we have 54 lot subdivision of half-acre lots. We're bringing in mobile homes. That's our development right there, is developing a trailer and hooking it up and dragging it in and dropping it in. That's what we do. Yes, we're putting in utilities. There's actually there's a public water there, so we're grateful for that. Electricity, but we do have to put a septic on each one.
Oh, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I had a partner of mine years ago who, his specialty really was building apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we're always, think of it as like a assembly line out here. You're acquiring this, get the plans drawn, and then you're doing this, you get under construction, then it goes on for a while, then you start marketing your units, and you get it up, then you go through capital gains, period, and then it falls off, boom, you sold it,
Yeah.
Something happens in this year and a half, 2 years, that always invariably leaves you caught with 3 different projects on that line. You're going,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been asked that question a lot. Like, why didn't you do multifamily? And looking back, if I was smarter, I probably would have. I'm a pretty simple-minded guy, and I hated my job before I got into real estate, and I never had big aspirations of making a lot of money. I just wanted to quit my job and like enjoy life first. And if I could make some money doing it at the same time, being my own boss, I was going to be very happy. So that's kind of how I started, and then I started, becoming successful, and I started looking at multifamily. But I guess the risk-adverse side of me was always afraid to do it, and we went under contract on some deals. But the thing with me was like I knew, ultimately I didn't enjoy working with tenants, just like serving them, and that's who you're really serving, was part of it. But 2, back then, I was like, you know what, if I raise, $1 million or $5 or $10 million and do this deal, and if it goes sideways, I didn't know if I could fix it. As a matter of fact, I was like, I'm pretty sure I can't fix that problem. Even if it's a non-recourse loan, and I didn't want to ever be in a situation where I couldn't repay my investor's capital back. So I kind of stayed small. I'm like, hey, this thing works for me, what I do in this single family side, so I kind of just stayed in my lane. Probably could have made a lot more money, to be honest, because when apartments were skyrocketing over the last, probably it's kind of plateaued the last couple of years, but before that, 4 or 5 years before that, there was so much money to be made, and I was tempted. I'm just like, I think I'm going to stay in my lane here. So a lot of those deals have gone sideways. I know some investors, and so that's where you got to be careful. You got to be careful, okay, when you're looking at these deals, right? There's just this uninformed optimism, right? Like, oh man, this is going to be great. Like anytime you start a new business venture, you're excited, right? It's just like, it's uninformed optimism because you don't know what you don't know. Even some of the syndicators may have good intentions, but they're all hyped up on the potential of this deal. And a lot of them, they don't dig that deep into the what ifs. Like they really don't. They spend and I'm judging, I'm casting a net, but they spend so much time like on marketing the deal and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, are you really looking into this thing?
The key is knowing how to fix the problems.
Key is knowing how to fix the problems,
How to get it done.
but there's some properties that I don't know any other way to say it. They have birth defects that can't be fixed, and it starts with like how much capital that you raise. It doesn't start there, but they compound the problem with look what they're dealing with now with these interest rates, right? These balloons are coming due. They're not fixing it, and they're giving up these properties. So you have to really, like with any good business venture, is begin with the end in mind, go through all those scenarios that can happen. You got to forecast. There's gonna be some bad things that happen over the course of time. I mean, I could sit here and I don't know how much time do I have? 4 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, I could tell you a lot of stories.
Well, quick question on the
About
development thing. When you pulling a trailer on, are you buying a new trailer or are you finding used trailers?
anything. Back to this point, almost anything new is unaffordable now, right? Like business-wise, like it is so difficult. That's the other thing with building. Builders aren't building a whole lot, if y'all have noticed that. So that's another reason, like buy and hold strategy. Like I don't like to, project or whatever, like do whatever you want to do. But look at what's happening right now is that people are flooding, not literally flooding into our country, and our state from other states and other countries are all coming to Texas. We already have a housing shortage and builders aren't building very much. So like it doesn't take a rocket. Yes.
To that point, I've been hearing some real estate people talking about repurposing commercial buildings like this and turning them into low-income homes or low-income housing.
There's probably opportunity there. I do a live every day. I did a live a couple of days ago. Now opportunities everywhere at one of these mixed-use office sharing things, the Cannon, if y'all have seen those. There is a lot of opportunity there, but pioneers have arrows in their back kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm probably not. You're not going to see me doing a raise to convert probably anytime soon. But there are people already testing that theory, and I think it makes sense. Really, I think it does. I think there's some complications with it, but it does make sense because traditional commercial it's not dead. It's just changing. And the problem is people want to do something that worked 10 years ago today and it doesn't work that way.
Are there government funds being?
I'm sure. I am sure. Yeah, I am sure. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that. My wife texted me a picture. They're building the rent-to-own communities over by us, several of them. One of them, man, these houses are tiny. They're like 600 or 700 square feet. They are so small. Like you look and you're like rubbing. I haven't stepped in. I think they're like an efficiency, but there's some nicer ones that are 2 and some are 3 bedrooms. They're like 24. I could look on my phone. $2,400 to $2,800 a month for renting.
Out there right now have got the residential realtors dialing for dollars, calling everybody. Y'all probably gotten lots of phone calls.
Well,
that's the reason why, is because they've got all this money over here that's wanting to go into residential neighborhoods.
Yes.
That are stable. They're
Yeah.
trying to place funds in there. So in some cases, they own half of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I got a call the other day from a lady, and she said, she's like, hey, we're looking for, owners of large portfolios to buy. You have to have 100+ doors. And she's working, with a group from another country. And, I'm like, I wouldn't sell to someone from another country. I would only sell to American. I didn't really say that. But she was like, they have about $2 million to deploy pretty soon. I'm like, I will change my policy on that. Let's talk. Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of that where the big funds, the big groups, other countries are coming in to buy this real estate, and this isn't new. So I started literally bumping in to hedge funds back in 2010. Is when I didn't know what a hedge fund was back then. I bumped into a guy at a property and we became friends and I learned about that space. This is nothing new, but it's just gotten much, much bigger. Cash flow is getting so much harder, much more difficult. They're going to real estate, and so they're going to deplete what it is now because they're driving up the cost so high for a tiny little bit of yield. So it's like even the opportunity that we have is going away. Like, it is.
My house has just gone crazy. I'm retired, and so everything kind of stable.
Yeah.
You know?
But where are you going to move if you sell it?
I'm not gonna sell it.
Yeah, but if you do, like, where are you going to go? I do have an RV park with some RVs, you know, like, that's what it is for people, though. Like, we've had people that have downsized to, like, a mobile home or an RV. That's what it is. I think I'm out of time. Okay, thank y'all very much.
You.
Good thing we have crypto, so.
Okay, everybody. If y'all don't know who this is, this is Pulse Trainer, and what he's going to do is he's going to get us up out of our seats for a minute. You know, we had basically, right, the food's kind of settled in, everybody's sitting back. You know, their eyes are getting a little heavy. I could see Whitney here. Whitney, he has a, here, help us out.
Well, Danny didn't tell me I was going to be asked to perform today, so. Anyways, let's everybody stand up, I guess. You have your seat. We're going to do, I guess, a stand in place kind of warm up, which I do with people when I'm online, when we do our Zoom training classes. So, but anyways, just kind of stand in place, kick those arms going forward. I know we all had lunch, so do about 10, 15 forward, 10, 15 back. Big circles forward. See those shoulders cracking? Open up a little bit. Big shoulders back. Grab a knee. Pull it up. That's about 5 on each side. Side to side. Take a step. Side to side.
There you go.
How much longer I gotta
All right.
camp for you?
Hey, give him a hand, give him a hand. Now, are you still taking crypto for payment for
I
his?
am, yeah. We had our first two customers.
Yeah, he received, what do you take, Pulse,
I'll take
Texan? He
crypto.
takes all these as forms of payment for his trainer services. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
All right, y'all can have a seat. And let me grab my laptop real quick. So, yeah, that's what I was supposed to be doing. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. All righty, folks. Well, hey, so today, thank you for having me, first of all. Actually, you got stuck with me. I think they were really trying to get Matt with Crypto Heartbeat here, and he couldn't make it, and so they were like, who could talk about Texan? Danny's from Texas, you know, and just kidding. No, but I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised what I have to share with you today. And if you're not happy with what I have to share with you today, meet me afterward. I'll just give you half of my speaker's fee today. And so half of zero is, see, look, these folks, they know math. They're good. They can make this. You know as much as math as you need in order to be successful in this upcoming bull run. Okay, just put it that way. So I've had the pleasure a few weeks ago of attending a conference that they've put on in California, and here were some of my takeaways from that. And you're experiencing it right now, but here were the takeaways. Number one is I'm blown away and extremely thankful for a community like this, for a community that is willing to take their time, their energy, their funds, go around the country and share this message. And I just want to give them a big round of applause, if you would mind. You know, what the folks here that are brand new, what you don't realize is there's literally hundreds of people that have been streaming on YouTube in order to share this message, right? Some of them might have 10 or 15, folks that are watching a live stream. Some of them have several hundred. And then the replays. So literally there's tens of thousands, if not millions of hours of information out there that people, because they were impacted, they went and have been sharing that. So we call those the streamers. You might have heard them talking about them. The thing is that the second point here is that I took away was that the information that they were sharing, what you got this morning, what you received before lunch, it's kind of information overload for some of you, I understand, right? But they're seeking to educate you to the point where it's like so that you can make your own decision. There's nothing, there's no pressure, there's no, you have to do this or trying to convince you to do something. And there's a couple reasons why. You've kind of heard about this bear market that we went through. So during that bear market, it was kind of difficult to try to get someone in because you're trying to help explain something that's coming without seeing it necessarily. Another piece is that some of us got friends and family, we told them about it and they got in when it was going up, or maybe they got in when it was coming down, but still they've bought in at higher prices than today. And so, so you think about it. So that's why up to this point, someone's up here laughing because they bought in at 36 cents. 36 cents, heck.
And all the way down.
Yeah. So just keeping that in mind is that's why up until this point in this Pulse Chain tour, it's been really informationally rich and not really pushing. Okay, I'm here to push you a little bit right now because I know where the market is. And as you've heard actually today, their talk has actually transitioned a little bit. Why is that? Let me ask you this question. Are things different today than they were about a month ago? And the answer is absolutely yes. So where we stand today, we have a lot of clarity. There's signals that are really clear. We can see where we are in this cycle, and there's more perspective, and we can see that now is a fantastic time to get in. So although I would never pressure anyone to invest more than they're capable, let me be clear. It's my goal today to make sure that you understand the opportunity before you today. I firmly believe that you will never see an opportunity to generate extreme wealth like this. Now, in the process of telling some folks about this, I invited a friend. I've known him for several years, and he was just staring at me, just kind of like real kind of standoffish, and kind of a stoic look. And basically, after talking, he said, "Danny, if anybody else was telling me about this, I would just say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested." And I understand exactly where he's coming from. It was kind of a challenging conversation to have. It's kind of like what am I being invited to? And but so here's the thing: if I was talking to you on this subject hypothetically, of like, hey, there's this thing that I think is going to happen, and there's things just talking to you hypothetically, and I had not had any success, you should be extremely skeptical. And but what if I was talking to you about an opportunity that I had already achieved my dream life through this opportunity? What if I told you about that I'm quite sure that I'm probably maybe at the 20 percentile in here as far as intelligence when I look around the room, okay? Yet I can understand this system, and I've actually been using this for several years now. So if I'm not that smart and I can figure it out after a couple of years, I promise you, you can. What if I told you that my biggest fear wasn't where my next paycheck was coming from, but am I going to be a good steward of all these resources and all this money that God's been giving me or put in made me steward over, right? I have responsibility for these funds. My biggest fear is that I'm not necessarily making those right decisions, so I'm focusing on that. Isn't that right? So my goal today for you is basically to do this, is to help you to dream big and to consider giving big. Now, if I had like a subtitle of what my talk would be, it'd be capitalizing opportunity and being an agent of change in the world. So my short version is dream big and give big. All right? You remember that? Okay. So you might be saying to yourself, what qualifies you, Danny, to be telling me about dreaming big, giving big? So can I share my story with you? Can I share that with you? Okay. So I'll just tell you, I grew up, fairly poor, spending most of my growing up years below the poverty level. And, I learned the meaning of hard work by working on a farm, and I would say growing up on a farm in South Texas. I carried those hardworking principles with me into getting married young and having a family young and getting out there into the workforce. We moved to the Houston area shortly after getting married. Fast forward to 2000, I did start a business, and that went I would say mildly successful, right? Had a business. But fast forward to 2017, and we had something come through here called Hurricane Harvey. Who's from Houston? Who lived in Houston during Harvey? Okay. Who got water in their house? Okay, several. So we did. Ours was kind of particularly difficult because we had amount of water in our house to the point that the damage was substantial, and we had to make modifications to our house. We couldn't just fix it. Couldn't just rip the sheetrock out and keep going. We had to either tear down our house and start over, or we had to sell the house as it is and let somebody else deal with it, or we had to make major modifications. So it wasn't an easy decision. We had to kind of think, what do we do? Well, in the process, we got some insurance money, and I had some money that I had from my business. And I thought, I just really felt compelled that I want to be a good steward of those funds. I'm just like, I'm sitting on this insurance money. If I stick it in the bank, it's going to do nothing, right? So I started doing some research and studying, and that's around the time, that was 2017. So people started talking about Bitcoin. I was like, what are these things? I started educating myself on that. And I would say that during those times, it was a little bit like the Wild West, because there was a lot of folks that were putting information out there. There's a lot of projects that I didn't realize how risky that they actually were. And you've heard some descriptions of folks getting rug pulled, right? You have people projects, the liquidity exiting and all this kind of stuff. Well, I got tied up in that, and I lost an extreme amount of money. To me, it was extreme. I was having heart palpitations. I was literally having heart palpitations. Just thinking about it kind of stresses me out. It was pretty bad, and I was like, Lord, what are you doing? Like, what did I do? Here I am. I want to be a good steward, and now I just lost all this money. And so I was like, I kind of took a step back, and I said, I really believe that this is the future. I really believe blockchain is the future, but I got to do something different. So I just really started focusing on the fundamentals and technical trading analysis, and I went and I took a really well-known course. I was there in person. I'm just doing all these things. I'm going to do this right. What I didn't realize was that even the exchanges themselves were the bad guys. I said the Wild West, right? So these exchanges, some of them are in these countries, some are in those countries, some are like, who's the actual owner and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? They're actually trading against their own customers. They know where everybody's stop losses are. So even if I had the best trade that I knew was going to go up, or I was like, this is technical. I have my stop here. I'm going to make this profit. I'm going to do this thing the right way. And then I have a spam wick go take me out of the trade, and then it goes up. So I lost money on a winning trade. How's that? Well, I didn't understand it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to watch my trades better, and I'm just going to take off my stop loss. That's where the real heart palpitations came in. You wake up the next morning down $60,000. Yeah, that's pretty difficult. So, and all the sleepless nights, I'm in there on the computer instead of sleeping in bed, or with my family. So, this is the part where you say, I thought he was trying to build credibility. I was trying to build credibility on what to do, right? So how to make it, not lose it, right? So hang on, I'm getting there. Here's the point. Thankfully, I ran across a guy named Richard Hart. And at first, I was just like this. He said some interesting things. He was kind of a strange guy, fascinating, interesting fella. According to him, he was a multimillionaire before he got into Bitcoin. And so he brought millions into Bitcoin. What does that make him? Probably a billionaire, right? I mean, this is somebody that seemingly was someone that I could listen to. I was like, yeah, at least he's interesting. After doing some research, I saw that he actually was good at calling tops and bottoms of the Bitcoin market. So he had done that. That's historical fact. You can look at he didn't delete tweets and all this stuff. It's all there. He was saying things that I could relate to. He was saying things like, don't get involved in projects, and here's why. He talked about the liquidity issues. He talked about rug pulls. He talked about Ponzi schemes. Don't get involved in these things. He said, not your keys, not your coins. As far as I know, he's the first person ever said that. I'm sure there's somebody, but he said that way a long time ago. Don't trust the exchanges. Now you're seeing that, and even like FTX, these things, huge, multi-billion-dollar exchanges going down. But he was saying that back then. Don't trust the exchanges. Don't leave your money in there. You've heard folks give those examples today. Don't listen to influencers. Well, that's a big way I lost money, was listening to influencers. Why? Because these are like, hey, this is the next big thing. This is what it's doing. Look at all these things it can do for you and blah, blah, blah. Not knowing that that guy that's promoting it that has 60,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers is getting paid to talk about that project. I want to make sure you understand here that none of the influencers that have been here or that have ever been on talk about Hex, as far as maybe all the Hex folks, all the Hexcans, they do not get paid. Richard has never paid them. They don't get paid to talk about Hex. They talk about it because they've been through, and they've all these other bad projects. They've lost money. They've gone through it. It's funny how similar the stories are. You talk to these guys, their story's the same as mine. I talked to Kinetics, the story's the same as mine. They had to lose money, and here's kind of my point, is that on one hand, I wish that I found out about Richard sooner. But my question to myself is, would I have listened to him if I found him sooner? I don't know that I would have. I had to lose before I could hear. And what I want to tell you today is you don't have to be that. You don't have to do that. Don't do what we did. Don't think you can go out and try some strange meme coin. Oh, it's going to be the next big thing. If it's not something that we've talked to you about today, then don't touch it. Stick to the basics. Stick to these things that we feel very firmly and strongly about. So I believe that God allowed me to suffer so that I'd pay close attention and so learn from our mistakes. So what then? Well, I did get involved in that thing that they called Hex and did extremely well. My wife and I experienced the meaning of exponential growth, and although we suffered the loss of our home due to Harvey and emotional financial suffering during the days of loss in crypto, God saw fit to bless us tremendously. Time won't permit me to share with you all the experiences since our initial success, but I wanted for you to have just a glimpse of what's possible. And so I want to tell you some of the things that we've been able to experience the last few years so that you know it's real. This is not something I'm not telling you hypothetically. If you listen to Crypto Heartbeat, he gives this example about his wife. He put $1,000 in Hex before Big Payday, and then he'd watch it. He tells his wife, "Hey, it had gone up $600." Yeah. So he tells his wife, "Hey, that thing I put $600, it's $2,000 now." She's like, "That's not real money." He's like, "No, but," and he called, "Hey, it's up to $5,000." She's like, "Yeah, but that's not real money. Show me the money." And then it got to $16,000. He pulled it out and bought his daughter a car. That's not real money. Is that real money? That's not real money.
It's an expense.
No, it's an expense. Okay. No, but the point is that this is what I want for you to kind of see. This is real. This is real. I've experienced it. I have firsthand knowledge. I don't know how else to put this to you. So let me just kind of go through some of these high points. We were able to afford a dream wedding for my middle daughter. That's pretty awesome. I'm already getting emotional. Sorry. I was thinking about my daughter. So we took my youngest daughter on an amazing graduation trip took to a dude ranch. She loves horses. Took her dude ranch. Went off-roading. Went and visited White Sands. Instead of rebuilding our old house, God opened the door for us to purchase a 20-acre estate on which we've hosted all kinds of retreats and events. We held Generosity Conference, which is something we did for the community last year. Multiple church events, including a fish fry that we started doing annually with our church for over 200 people on our property. We've hosted entertaining groups inside and out. We've had high school student events, college student events, dance team weekend and retreats, parties, events, family events, holidays. We had a wedding in our house. We sat 100 people for a reception, in our house. All these things, events for Texit, events for fundraisers for political folks there at the property. It has a large pond in front of it, and a lot of people call it a lake. It's a pond, but we get lots of use out of that, and just the nature itself is just beautiful around the house. So it brings a lot of joy to us and to others. So, that house that we lost, we got something much better. It's kind of like Job in the Bible, where he lost, but then he got all this other stuff. For my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary, whoop, whoop, they're right there. We took our entire family to Hawaii. We stayed on the North Shore on a house right on the beach. Whenever y'all were dreaming earlier and he was like, close your eyes, I want you to think about this. Did y'all dream of a beach somewhere in Hawaii and just the waves coming in? The surfers, you can just sit there and watch them. I got to whale watch with my grandkids from our porch. Sent my drone out. Sent the drone out there. We're sitting there and I'm showing them. It's like, look, they thought I'm watching TV. No, that's right there. You see those splashes? By the way, I'm gonna show you a video a second of all this stuff. So yeah, that was, my daughter wanted to climb one of the highest peaks on the mountain in Hawaii, so we did that. That was something else. I even have video evidence. Took off time to go move my daughter and son-in-law. He was joined the military. We had to move them to California. Then we took off again and we moved them to Tennessee. We helped paint their house. We did all, took off time to do these things. Some of y'all are like, that doesn't sound like a big deal. If you're a parent of parents, you're like, that's a huge blessing to be able to go and be able to spend time and take care of them and help them with their family. So this is a big one. Being a blessing to those that have been a blessing. So my mom, she's been taking care of my grandmother for a long time. She had dementia. And we didn't think my grandmother would last this long, but she's 93 years old. So she's spent 10, 15 years just taking care of my grandmother. And so my mom's truck was in really bad shape, so we bought my mom a new truck. It's going to be hard for me to keep going here. This guy wasn't supposed to be here, but I told that my mom, right? So here's the thing. Where does my mom live? My mom lives at my brother's house. So my brother and his family they let my mom come stay there with my grandmother. So they have been instrumental in taking care of my grandmother so sacrificially. And at the very least I could do is help. We put in new floors for their home, right? So, but being able to have the freedom to do that was a huge, that's because of this. It's because of DeFi. It's because of Hex, because of Richard Hart. So for a number of reasons, it just kind of timed out where pretty much everybody in my family needed a vehicle at one time. Yeah. There were 7 cars that day. Seven vehicles given on that day. Yeah. So, and then last year was my mom's birthday, 75th birthday, my father-in-law's 75th birthday, so we had to go big, and we went on this big trip, big epic road trip. So anyway, providing for my family, was a blessing. That's a great place to start, right? But how about other people? How about what can I do for the less fortunate? And so we have done, and we have plans to do more. But there's a ministry called ICM, and because of them, we've connected and we've built several churches and community centers in Peru and Ecuador. So that we've done that, and we have great plans to do a whole lot more with them. They're amazing folks. And then God actually had us start our own nonprofit foundation. It's called The Right Hand, and the focus of that foundation is to find all these small charities and ministries that are doing amazing work and come alongside them and just give them a boost in the arm financially. Basically, come along and just give them that shot of adrenaline, give them what they need to keep going. And so that's what we do there. So you'll hear from me a little bit more in a minute, but I'm going to flip over to a video and let y'all see what we just talked about. Give me a second.
Did the projector actually turn off?
I just turned it back on.
Oh,
Oh.
good, thanks.
Thank you. Awesome.
'Cause I thought I saw it go off.
This is in my face. I'm not unplug and plug back in. Hey, thank you, sir. I forgot about that.
Do this as well if that's.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, cool. We are there.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed,
The brightest colors fill my head.
a million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the world I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, you can be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be bright. not. Jump in and we'll bring you along. To the world we'll see. To the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams, a million dreams. For the world we're gonna make. All right. So, does anybody remember what my goal was today?
Dream big, give big.
Thank you. To inspire you to dream big and give big. So I hope that video is kind of giving you a glimpse of what's possible through this ecosystem. Give me a mic and I'll sing anything, but I'm not really the best speaker. It's funny. In fact, I hardly get to speak, and when I do, Camille's so nervous because she's like, she knows that I'll stick my foot in my mouth, say something, So why am I here? Why am I here? Well, because I'm trying to make sure that you understand. I'm trying to make sure you get the picture. So I want you to take away a few things. One is that the pulse chain ecosystem is most likely the best opportunity to create generational wealth that you will ever come by. I want you to understand this community believes in abundance. Actually, you've heard that word today, haven't you? It's in my notes, but you've heard a couple other people talk about it. And we want to see you succeed. I don't want you to regret not getting involved. I have an interesting story. We were at this really high-end conference a couple years ago, and there was a real estate guy up there talking. He's a real estate financial guru, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard about Bitcoin. It was some guys brought this to me as an opportunity, and I was just like, yeah, it just didn't seem weird, And it was like Bitcoin was like around like $1, like literally he could have gotten in like around $1." And so he's like, "No, I'll pass," right? And then he says a couple years later, he was asked to get in Bitcoin, this time by his actual partners. They're like, "I think we should get in this." And he's like, "Yeah, it's too confusing. There's just so many hurdles to get in. It's just too difficult." And it was probably around $200. And like, we missed out before, No, I'll pass. And then he tells that he again, somebody wanted to buy property and they wanted to use Bitcoin to buy it. He goes and looks at the price, $10,000 of Bitcoin. And he's like, "Well, now I'm too late, so I'm not going to get involved." So he just keeps turning it down, And yeah, he was a little bit too late at $10,000, right? We talked about there's something better than Bitcoin. But you're hearing about something so early still. And it's typically when it's early, it's difficult. It's harder to get in. So we've had these conversations like, how do I do it? It's not, you can't just go up to your bank and say, "Yeah, get me some of that hex." Right? There's a few roadblocks, there's a few challenges, a few hurdles, but anything worth doing is worth doing well, and it's worth putting the effort in, right, to get it done. So what will your story be? So what has it been? Where'd you come from? Where are you going to be in 2 years? And if you experience transformational wealth, will you use it for good in the world? So maybe you're ready to take action. And you're like, "Well, where do I make my next steps?" I recommend this. First of all, let me commend you for being here. You've come here to learn about it. If you're married, talk to your spouse about it. Make sure that you all are on the same page. If you're a person of faith, pray about it. Right? I'm not saying just blindly jump into something. Don't just say, "Hey, it sounds like a good idea, let me do it," and not really pray about it. If you're a man of faith, pray about it. And then I want to challenge you to let yourself dream big. Dream big. What are the things that have been put on your heart to do, to go, to be, okay? And what's stopping you from doing that? If it's finances, then free yourself here. And so we have links that we can provide you. I know that some of the guys that came with me are saying, hey, how do we get started? So we'll get you links, and we'll get you plugged in. So while I'm encouraging you to get involved, you can dip your toe with just a few $1,000, or you can go in real heavy, if you want to make really, really transitional wealth. So once you start looking closely, you'll see that the opportunity you have today. Yeah, SJ, she gave her story earlier. She told you where she got in. Look at the price today. You can get in at better prices than SJ got in.
I got my best friend in like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she's the same rank, like staker rank.
Yeah, with less money.
Yep.
So she got in less money. So that's the opportunity that you'll have, right? My brother, he told you, he got in, his first buy was at 35 cents or something like that, right? 37 cents. He said, no, Danny, 37 cents. That's 3 cents higher, which is 3 times what the price is, right? So, you know what I'm saying? You get my point. You get my point. We didn't see this coming. It's a long story why we're here today, what brought us to there, but the momentum is here, and we are ready to rock and roll, ready to go. So what are you waiting for? So I have a couple of, if you're going to write down any recommendations for any kind of books, I would say there's a book that's called, by Bob Goff, called Dream Big. There's another one called Love Does. Read Love Does first, and then read Dream Big. And then if you want to understand what I would say, if you want to kind of delve into or begin your journey through breaking free from the deceptive money system that we're all part of right now, as far as the fiat system or the fake money system, which is actually what it means.
Yes.
It's not based on true value. It's just based on what we tell it, declare it. There's a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Read it. Read that book. Okay. Well, that is all I have as far as my personal story. I'm gonna be talking to you about another project here. We're still good to. Okay. All right. So the what I want to share with you right now, let me get my laptop back up, is a fantastic project that I am personally involved in. We have some folks here actually from a group called the TNM, which just means the Texas Nationalist Movement. And where it doesn't matter where you stand on, where you personally stand on this issue. The point is that we believe that Texans have the right to self-determination. That seems like a pretty obvious statement. People should have the right to self-determination. That's something we're given by God. It's something we actually have in our Constitution, in our Texas Constitution. Okay, so the point is that we have the right to be self-governing, and not be governed by somebody that's overlording us. Basically, being slaves to that system, right? So that's in short, that's kind of what the TNM is about. They think they think Texans should have a right to govern themselves, and they want to get that on a ballot eventually, so that people can say yes, they want to do that or not. Kind of like Brexit. There's something called Texit. Okay. Well, if you guys know or don't know, there's a gentleman named Matt. Crypto Heartbeat is his name on YouTube. He basically had been working with nonprofits for a long time, creating something called endowments. That's how nonprofits sustain themselves for long periods of time. They teamed up with the TNM, and they generated a token, a cryptocurrency called Texan, the Texan token. And it's an endowment token. And it's if you look in here on the screen here, it's a symbol of freedom, sovereignty, and self-determination. So it's an ERC20, which means it was built on on Ethereum. Okay, and then whenever Pulse Chain forked from Ethereum, now it's on both chains. Okay, so it's on both chains, and there's over 20,000 holders from across the world. Texan is the first endowment token. So once again, that was Matt's expertise. And so what they did is they brought that in. So just like Hex was the first CD on the blockchain, Texan is the first endowment token. So you can stake for 1 day, or you can stake all the way up to 22 years. Okay, and the longer that you stake and the longer you leave it in there, the more interest that you gain. Okay, this is just the curve. And basically, if you put a stake in there for 1 year, then you get 5% interest. If you leave it in there, if you notice, if you leave it in there to 10 years, on the 10th year, you're getting 50% interest that year. If you leave it all the way to 22 years, you're going to have 236% interest that year. And if you leave it the whole way, on average, it's 87% per year interest. That's in Texan Token, okay? Now, what's interesting about this is that you can actually scrape, meaning, let's say you put a stake in there for 10 years, and 5 years in, you're like, you know what, I really need some of that money. Or it's gone up real high, and you're like, hey, I want to capital. You can actually scrape all the interest, and you get all the interest that you've accumulated at that point. The only downside is that it resets your day back to day one. So you're going back to 5% interest. You're not going to be able to get 26% the next year. Does that make sense? So what I would recommend, if you're getting involved in something like this, same thing with Hex. You build a staking ladder. You don't put it all your eggs in one basket. You actually create multiple stakes. And that way, you can just let it ride. And so I have stakes that are 22 years. I'm not going to touch. So unless some major emergency comes up, I'm not going to touch it. But then I have some shorter stakes, like 5 and 10 years. So that way, if I wanted to go ahead and end it on its, as it ends, I just take it out and I can restake it, do whatever I want with it. So does that make sense? Am I getting everybody? Okay. So it's allowing you to earn yield and scraping without any penalty. Okay, sir. Now, we talked about Richard earlier, and basically, here are some of the principles that Richard spoke about. Richard talked and kind of pushed out there into to what we call our ecosystem. So new projects coming in typically have some of these attributes. It's an immutable contract. It means it cannot be changed. That means that once the contract's out there, somebody can't come in there and say, we're going to create some more supply. Okay? So the supply is fixed. It's on both chains. It was this talks about the interest, and then there's the actual supply is 100 trillion. It sounds like a lot, right? But 97% of that is locked up in the contract. It can only come out whenever people are getting. That's where the yield comes from. So it's kind of like this giant reserve of Texan Token, and remember we talked about this chart. That's where this interest comes from. Is from that reserve, okay? So the 3% of the supply was for donors, partners, and Texans. So actually part of that supply went to the Texan team, the TNM team. Part of it went to the developers and then the people that actually funded this to be created in the first place. And so, and actually went to support the TNM movement. So that's where that initial supply came from, of that 3%. And something else that should be noted is that the team staked theirs for 22 years. So while they did get like a 1% or what percent, they literally staked it for 22 years. And didn't that what TNM did as well? Yeah, 1%. TNM got 1%. Guess what they did with it? They went and blew it and they bought new cowboy hats. No, they staked it for 22 years. So it's staked. So that means there's not a whole lot of supply that's actually floating around out there. Less than 1% is actually out there, okay? So I just wanted to make sure you understood that. So that's what that means. And then it's a mutable contract, and it was audited by CERTIC. So those are principles. So if you want to know more about that, go to texan.cc. Texan.cc has a great site where it actually can walk you through. And a lot of folks that came to Texan were no-coiners because they were folks that were introduced to it because of TNM. So there's actually some great information on there on how to get started. Well, folks, that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions or anything before we have the next speaker come up?
We're going to do a Q&A with you and RG.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you all for your time.
Please hold. Okay.
We started in the same place.
All right, and now I would like to introduce our last speaker of the day. After this, we're going to do an AMA panel and some more giveaways. This gentleman here, first of all, thank you for helping us acquire this here space to host this event. So I know him mostly as Moondog. That's kind of his name online. And over the last at least 2 years, for sure, of my own journey in social media, he's just been a real positive force in our ecosystem, constantly uplifting other people, always just spreading love and light. Every single time he sends a message, you know, there's some kind of like positive emoji or positive message behind it. So I'm really excited to have him here and have him speak on a little bit about bridging everything that you just heard today, crypto, real estate, and what it means to spread this message in a positive manner. So David Moondog Leader, ladies and gentlemen. Here's your...
Hello. Thank you. All right, I'm going to put up a couple things to keep me on track. It's going to be real simple. Who am I? What am I talking about? I get that one a lot. Most importantly, why should you care? I'm going to start with this last one, because the word care is a spiritual term to me. It starts with the fact that what you care enough about to pay attention to, spend time on, and exchange energy with, that energy could be in the stored value in the form of money or some other tokenized value, could be the time that you're giving somebody, that is another type of energy, could be your physical energy, your intellectual energy. But what you care enough to spend those assets on is literally what creates the worlds that all of us experience within ourselves first, and then emanating around us into our shared experience. So all of us have your first team is this. We all have a team. Boom. You got your time, energy, attention, and money as a shorthand. Before I got into crypto, I got this in the mail. That dude that was here a little bit earlier, Brant, asked me to do a project. They interviewed me. Then they sent me this script from the interview. I ended up editing it. They turned it into a book, and Amazon sent me this best-selling author plaque. I don't really count it because I wasn't trying, and being a best-selling author, I'm like, no, that's got to be something that I intended to do. So I'm going to try to do something that I think is a little bit more worthy in the future. It was on real estate, and I'm going to read a piece from the marketing excerpt, just to give you an idea. It's not necessarily about money. It's not about real estate per se, but real estate and its effective tool to free up their time if they're doing the buy and hold strategy. Whereas if you're flipping or wholesaling to create income, you're trading your time for that income, and it's a job. But use real estate as a tool to build passive streams of income so that you have the time to pursue whatever your passion is in life. So that was my passion before finding Richard Hart. I was doing real estate, not because I loved real estate, but because I saw it as the most effective tool that I had to free up my time so I could spend it with my family. Who am I? I am a forefather first. I have 3 boys and a baby girl that make up the 4 chambers of my heart. So everything that I do is very clearly guided and directed by, that priority. It makes my decision tree matrix a little bit easier, at least on the front end. Bitcoin, what it technically is, if you want to know what it literally is, it is the monetization of energy. It works off of SHA-256, which was developed by the NSA. I'll do a little tangent here. So I went to the United States Military Academy. It's where I met my baby mama. We're doing the advanced mathematics program. And of course, one of the other fellow cadets is, not wanting to do class that day, so tries to pull one of the just lazy. When are we ever going to use this stuff? So our professor, who was a young female civilian doctorate, working at the United States Military Academy. So, you know, no schmuck. The next class we had in the auditorium, and an NSA agent came in. It was basically a pre-recruitment. But what he was doing was he was showing us how the math modeling matrices that we were using, the exact things that he was asking, when are we ever going to use this stuff, was what the NSA used to translate the various brainwaves that you have, alpha, beta, gamma, et cetera, into binary. So the way that you get mind reading technology, yeah, that's what he was showing us. So that was a little tangent. Now I tangented myself off. What was the point? The NSA, oh, Bitcoin is a monetization of entity. SHA-256 was created by the NSA. I'm not saying that they created Bitcoin. That was the anonymous moniker, Satoshi Nakamoto. But just so you guys are aware of where the technology is coming from, so that you guys can be aware of where your counterparty risks lie. Because what my goal is here, I wrote it down so that I can, and it's gone. I just want to showcase a couple of tools for you guys to be aware of, that you have available to you to pick up and use to build a life of your own design. My goal isn't to convince you of any specific thing. Before crypto, real estate was the most accessible tool that I found to the general public in order to be able to take back their time, because the game that we're living in, I saw a video where the title was something like fake economy, fake jobs, and his whole thesis was most, like 70 to 90% of people feel like their jobs aren't real. Like they're not doing something either they're not doing something that's meaningful, and or like there's examples of they're doing something that is measurably trivial or whatever. But that makes sense whenever you realize that the money that our economy is founded on is fake. And that starts with The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is a great book if anyone wants to get into it. Just to give you the briefest of overlays. Mr. J.P. Morgan, the guy who, you know, big financier, the same guy, so the same guy who owned the Titanic but ended up not making it on the voyage last minute because of various reasons. All the people who would have opposed us having a Federal Reserve System in the United States happen to be on the Titanic. And they all happen to go down, and wouldn't you know, a few months, or that we have a federal, everybody takes for granted now that we have a Federal Reserve. If you look at your $20 bill, Andrew Jackson, every time I hand my kids a 20, Snapple fact that either they get from me or they have to give to me, is Andrew Jackson was a president. He punched a central banker in the face in order to make sure that the United States would not have a federal central bank. Anyways, real estate was the most effective tool that I found for people being able to get out of the scam that we've all been lied to and forced into with passive consent, because that's what they do, is they just get you to pass it. If you don't make a fuss, then you're passively consenting into their system, which is, you know, go trade your time for money, but then that money is being inflated in a value that's faster than what you actually get out of it. So in real estate, they would, when I used to give seminars on real estate, one of the things they taught us was, you know, tell people that are coming in, you've heard that real estate goes up and down, but it doesn't look like this. Over a 20-year period, it looks like this, because on the averages, and what they would tell people is, on the average, every 20 years, your real estate is going to double in value. That's arguable. What's inarguable is that it doubles in cost. Yeah, I'll be glad to go on that tangent some other time when I have more time and refine it, put it on a YouTube thing, but not now. I'm going to try to get to the things I got to. To give you guys a baseline too, and I don't expect anybody to remember this, but just to give you an idea. So what would be a real estate example? Let's take a $200,000 house that you're going to, and we're talking about passive, you know, ways of building wealth, which again, you can flip all you want. And before crypto, that was a great way to go out and build up reserves in a quick way, but it is a job. You are trading your time for money. You're doing it with, you know, in a potentially faster way than you would be in the other system, and hopefully in a way that you're acquiring a skill set that would allow you to eventually get out of that system. But again, that's before crypto, admit it. But regardless, holding onto it is what's going to have that long-term wealth. So you got a $200,000 house, but it needs, and I'm just making up easy numbers, it's going to need $50,000 in repairs to get it there. You're able to get it under contract for $100,000. So you could go out, put 20 to 25% down, so you're going to be 40 to 50K on down payment. You got to do the cash out of pocket here for the rehab. You got some closing costs. So you're going to be putting, $120,000, and then you could rent that $200,000. Let's call it $1,900 a month, and then your mortgage, insurance, everything. Since you put 20% down. Here. Anyways, you're making $400 a month on your $120,000, $4,800 a year. It's not a lot, but it's a lot more than what you would get. So, and then they talk. It's a lot more than what you get at your traditional job. But then they upsell you into leveraging it. They say go use a hard money loan. They'll give you 75% of value. So you're going to get. They'll give you 150K. You're going to have to come up with. So you have 100K purchase price, 50K in rehab, another 20K in closing costs, everything else. They're going to cover this part of it. You come up with the $20,000 down, and then now you're making that. Let's say your rents go down a little bit because of the higher leverage. So you're going to be making $4,000 a year on 20K instead of 4,800 on 120K. This is the Robert Allen no money down methods type of thing that you would get in a room like this. I'm just giving you guys a quick rundown to tell you what has gotten people into real estate for decades. And this is just the getting them in quick thing. That's single family. Then they want to get you into multifamily. Tell you guys all about all that stuff. Doesn't matter. I found this guy named Richard Hart. Actually, so who am I? End of 2019, I had a business partner come to me after almost 10 years, 9 years and some change, say, hey buddy, I'm ready to do that business that we talked about. Whoa, I got 4 kids. That was 9 years ago. I don't take on business partners now, just a matter of family structuring and the risk and all that goes on. But after getting to know him and his family and stuff a little bit more, we started about a dozen real estate companies, hard money company, all these different things. So a bunch of real estate companies that all started with impact, real estate, whatever. They were set up as an engine to fund what is my passion, my foundation, Solstice Foundation, which is sharing our lives, serving, training, inspiring, creating, and empowering. So into 2019, we bought 100 doors. Now, here's a trick. It's a pet peeve of mine. If you do end up going to real estate events, you'll run into these people that say, oh, I have 200 doors, 400 doors, 3,000 doors, etc. Anybody who's talking like that is, first of all, talking about multifamily. And second of all, they're talking about they're a piece in a multifamily syndication. And they've got 10% in this deal and 5 in this deal. And anyway, so just to give you an idea of what how some people measure when they talk about that. We bought a package of 70 single family doors to hold on to a couple of apartment buildings and then about a dozen flips. 2020 rolls around. We had a $10 million line of credit lined up in order to do a bit more with the holds than what we were originally going to do, especially with the opportunity zones. Giving you guys a step up in basis, that's a great tax thing that I will talk about whenever it makes more sense for the audience that it makes sense for. But we were waiting on a $10 million line of credit. COVID happens. They said, oh, we have restrictions from, it's part of a, couple $1 billion chunk coming out of Wuhan. You need proof of life for money transfers that are this big. It's going to be a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks comes around. They said, oh, end of the month. It's been 4 years. They still haven't performed, nor have they released back the $2 million in escrow that we set up to have the funds initially. So we're going into multiple multi-million-dollar lawsuits now, not only from the properties that we initially set that up for, on that end, but now we have to actually go after them. But since I had gotten delayed on the real estate side for a little bit, I had some time to go back and check on cryptocurrency. I mentioned best-selling author on real estate. What I wish I'd gotten my best-selling author thing on, if you go on YouTube, I gave a talk about 8 years ago at a local humanist secular group. It's like church for people that have an aversion to church for whatever reason. And it's great because people are people, and you find a lot of the same things that turn people off to church. You can find those same tendencies in there, just in a different way. But I'm not going to go into that. But I gave a talk called Your Hands Can Solve Bigger Problems Than You Think. And in that, I was talking about a bunch of, I come across Peter Diamandis, who is impacting the world in a bigger way. When people think of Elon Musk, that's the level that Peter Diamandis is at, except for real, without as much of the mystique. He's doing real things.
What's your last name?
I'll put it up here. Peter Diamandis. Peter. One of his companies is Longevity Tech Inc. It's Longevity something. So I've been looking into longevity research and other things, expanding the healthy human lifespan for quite a while. Come back into crypto, and I knew that Ethereum was a superior technology to Bitcoin, but I was so busy with real estate, I was like, oh, I'll give it some time to come back, or before I come back and look at it. Came back to look at it, came across BitBoy's channel to kind of do my research. It's the one that was the most, prolific and out there. Had actually planned to, he was about to do a meetup in Georgia, a couple weeks after I'd stumbled across this thing. I was like, well, I do better in person being able to read somebody. Or there's just different things that I can read. Let me go see, what I could pick up there. Ended up not going because before then, part of it was before then he had Richard Hart on his stream. And I saw that even though he was being treated in a certain way, the things that Richard Hart was saying made sense and resonated to me in a way that were much more authentic and worth checking into. So I went over to Richard's channel and got completely sucked in to Richard Hart, the Hex ecosystem. This was before Pulse Chain, existed. I sacrificed for Pulse Chain and PulseX and then waited my 2 weeks.
Software's hard. It is. I don't know how many software's out. Software's hard.
So I've gone all over the place, and I'm not showcasing you guys the tools. I'm telling you real estate could do this. You guys already know about crypto. So I'm not hitting my goal. But I do want to talk about Sacrifice and PulseX, Pulse Chain. Sacrifice was brought up earlier, and I think it was just a little bit of a misspeak. But one of the things that I would amend to the definition that was brought up earlier was the hope of getting something, maybe. Just nix that completely. No hope, no. A sacrifice is you ain't getting nothing. Or more accurately, what you're sacrificing for is a means and ends of itself that's important enough that that's what you're getting out of it. As a father who sacrifices every day, again, that decision tree that I'm making, I'm not living my life for me. I haven't for a long time. I get to participate in my life and do some cool things along the way. The biggest thing that I get to participate in is watching those kids live their lives. And until they are, fully sovereign individuals as far as the law is concerned, I'm responsible from a legal sense guiding them there. And from a moral and spiritual sense, hopefully they respect me enough to take my guidance into consideration later on. Pulse Chain, I don't know who, I actually didn't catch this until about 6 months after launch. Pulse Chain is a literal manifestation of the value of the freedom to communicate. Blockchains are communications network. Freedom of speech is an idea. Pulse Chain is a tokenized digital It's a digital tokenization of that idea, which we get to communicate on and steward and participate in. PulseX is a literal tokenization of the freedom to associate. And how many of us felt that freedom being infringed since 2020? And it exists in the digital sphere, but if you understand how to utilize it, it can give you access, it can give you the sovereignty that you need over your own finances and other things to be able to bring that sovereignty into the real world. Building wealth in crypto and then preserving it in the real world is also a great strategy and a great idea and a great compass. Especially whenever you're getting started, because crypto really is the most powerful opportunity that you have in the near term and short term. Now with that comes all of the risks. There is some safety to gaining levels at a pace which you're more comfortable with being able to level up to being able to manage it. One of the worst things that could happen to somebody with, an addiction, for example, would be to win the lottery, because that could often poverty sometimes is the thing that's keeping them alive long enough to get their life sorted out enough to handle that. But crypto is going to give you the opportunity to be who you are is what it's going to do. It's going to give you the freedom. Because right now, all the tools that you need are already out there, by the way. People who know me, I'm not doing a very good job of getting to a point up here, because I do a lot better, like either when I have an intent, but I was busy here, or one-on-one, because then that guides my intent. People who know me will refer to me as an open book because of how transparent I can be, but more like an open library, as you can tell, all over the place. Not all the volumes are in the same language, and sometimes, no, but gosh, I forgot my point. I'm sorry. I'm tripping over myself. All the information that you need is already out there, though. Before it would be go to the library. Now you literally have it at your fingertips. And it's just a matter of you stewarding your attention. First of all, caring enough to actually care. Not just theoretically, oh, I'm supposed to care about this thing, so I tell myself I care about this thing. Therefore, I can feel good about thinking that I care about this thing. But to actually care in action, to pay attention, spend time on it, and exchange energy, leveling up your skill set, doing whatever it is. Here's what I'm going to circle to Hex, and then I'm going to cut out so we can do something more productive than what I'm doing right now. Bitcoin was a monetization of energy. Hex is a monetization of time. What Richard Hart did with the code and the tokenomics of Hex, and it's both within the code, but it's also within his integrated experience of the human condition. Richard Hart spent a lot of time observing human behavior at scale, and how to, guide and direct or incentivize that behavior. That's what it means when they talk about the game mechanics or the game theory of Hex. People who aren't there's a lot of people that are excited to got in with Pulse Chain and PulseX, and I think a lot of the fundamentals of Hex have been overlooked during some of that hype cycle, and I'm looking forward to, I'm seeing a lot of the Hex fundamentals coming back onto the scene and people talking about it a little bit more. The value of the T-share and what you can get just from the compounding effect of that over time, of what you're accumulating from the value of blockchain networks in general. Richard did something very unique that I'm not even going to attempt to start explaining right now, because then I'll be talking for hours, and who knows if I'll even make any sense of it. But Hex is unique. The monetization of time, almost everything that is worth, the things that you're going to value in life, are most of the, if it comes quick, you're not going to value it as much, and that's just a matter of input output. You don't have as much sunk cost to appreciate it by. You know what? Yeah, I apologize, guys. This is not. Yeah. Boom. All right. I'm gonna end on. I'm gonna do this one. Values. So I have a set of core values. I mentioned in my kids' guide, everything that I do, but I have a set of core values that help me to map that out as well. One is a growth mindset. This is as opposed to the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is, you know, somebody who just leans on talent and thinks that because you're talented, that's enough. And usually the people who are talented don't end up putting in the work, and because they misbelieve that that's enough. And they end up getting passed by those who do put in the work. But on the other end, your superpower is, again, you have the ability, you have everything that you need available at your fingertips, but you got to decide, okay, why am I not, if I'm not getting what I want out of life, what's in my way, and how do I get around that? But in order to even go down that path, you have to believe that you can get around it. So believing that you can solve things, believing that you can learn anything, like, even if it takes time. My superpower is the ability to learn anything. But growth mindset versus scarcity mindset, abundance mentality over a scarcity mentality. We have so much available to us, it's ridiculous. We've more than doubled the human lifespan in the past 100 years. We have this explosion of wealth and technology and everything available to us. You guys have you have access to more resources, not just knowledge, more connections, more computing power, more than over 40 of the presidents did during their terms. Like, there's so much that you can do, but probably, yeah, anyways. Extreme ownership, which is about taking responsibility, which I'm gonna write this one. This is the first thing that I'm gonna write that actually is not me just probably soothing myself from nervousness. As a compound word, responsibility is literally your ability to respond to something. There's a famous quote that everybody associates with Spider-Man or attributes to Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. That was originally coined by Voltaire about 300 years earlier. The reason for that is those two words are synonyms. Your ability to respond to something, like the power that you have, is the power that you have. And the excuses that you give, that's you giving your power away. That's you saying that you don't have it's not your fault. Responsibility is not about fault. Something can be not your fault, but you can still have the ability to respond to it. And that's the story of the Garden of Eden, by the way. But I won't go on that either right now. So, extreme ownership, I have 5. Growth mindset, abundance mentality, extreme ownership, responsible stewardship, that's where responsibility comes in, and then being grounded in gratitude. That's the key to life. No matter where you are, being able to appreciate what you have is going to allow you to see what you have, first of all, and to be in the best position to, you know, enjoy what you have and to enjoy what else there is out there, to see what else there is out there. Anyways,
What was the fourth one you said?
Fourth was responsible stewardship.
Responsible stewardship, thank you.
Yes, sir. I used to feel guilty about how much money I made in real estate because I came from dirt. And so doing a transaction and making more money, like money that could have changed my whole family's, I was like, this doesn't make sense. I felt like I must be, you know, I would over-explain to the people that I was getting the deals from. I'm like, I must be taking a bit. Like, why would somebody not just do this themselves? And that's what it took me a while to learn, was that I was assuming that they were willing to do what I was going to do in order to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you could get this. And people want different things out of life. And that's the cool thing about Pulse Chain is it's a community, it's a network, and there's room for each of us to do what we're going to do. And if it makes sense, you know, pick it up, do it together. And if it doesn't, you know, you don't have to let it bother you. So, boom.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep. It's all over the place. David Leader.
All right, so now it's time for our final AMA. So RG, Danny, if you guys will come back up. Moondog, you can stay. And SJ, I don't think anybody has any questions for us, but I guess we should stay.
That is a big assumption.
Hey, David, you know my list, and it's because forever I've told people, since I was born in San Antonio, I said I'm a Texican.
All right.
So I'm Texican Hexican. That's what I am. I'm like, sure.
There's quite a few Tex Hexes out there. Y'all.
Texican Hexicans.
Well, that's right.
Texas.
I was
Love
born
them
and raised in
Texans.
San Antonio, and I've told people for years I'm a Texican. So it just fit.
Oh yeah, that YouTube video, much better presentation than what I did today, guys.
So guys, we have a little bit of time here for some questions. Anybody want to get us started? Anybody have any questions they want to ask, and anybody particular, or just to the general panel?
I'll say one thing. I hadn't heard for when I began. So a lot of people are new. When I began, I was told don't do crypto on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Still a good idea, right? Can you just?
It's a horrible idea to do crypto on your phone. Well, because you can lose your phone, and people can access things, pull things out of your phone. You never take pictures of your seed phrases. You never store your seed phrases on your computer. Seed phrases, what's that?
They can port your phone to another.
You can port your phone. Your phone could actually get stolen from you. With somebody can take it without you even losing the device.
Right.
They can actually come in and grab your phone. When you take a picture, if you're on an iPhone, it goes to the cloud.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of reasons why not to do that. So whenever you're onboarding somebody, don't let them use their phone.
Yes.
Get their laptop or go to their house with their computer and do it there. And let's just talk about security real quick and seed phrases. So seed phrases are a multi-word phrase, 12, 24, sometimes more words for your password to create your crypto wallet. We suggest that you stamp those on some type of metal. People go as far as say put it on titanium because steel has some kind of a melting rate that you'll lose it in a fire or whatever. But I say put it on steel, throw it in your safe, and you're good. Also, people suggest not to put it in a safe deposit box because safe deposit boxes have been confiscated by banks and whatnot. So put your seed phrases away safe. Never write them down. My buddy, who was in the movie, who we onboarded, the Highest of Stakes crew went over there to film him, and his seed phrases were sticky noted right on his computer when they got there. So they asked him to pull them down before they started filming, and yeah. And that's my buddy. So
just on that too, like whenever I was in California, something I didn't see in today's is that you stood up on a chair and you shouted over and over again, never, ever.
I didn't want to jump up on the table.
Never, ever, 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 ever take a picture of your seed phrase.
Yeah.
Like he said, that goes, you take a picture of that, it's in the digital space. It's going to be uploaded somewhere. Somebody can get it off your phone.
And don't type it on a document on your computer. Don't.
Yeah,
So
no.
if you put it on the computer, somebody can hack it. They can find it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Quick little.
And-
quick little,
Yeah, go ahead.
quick little story. We were doing an event last year, and a lady came, and she was, really trying to learn. She had her notebook. She was taking notes. And unfortunately, the notebook that she brought with her was the notebook that she used to write down her seed phrases. So at the end of the event, we're cleaning up and we find this notebook, and we're looking through it trying to find a name to see who it belongs to, and we see like pages and pages of seed words. Lucky for her, it was SJ and I that found it.
Yeah.
So we got in contact with her through Twitter and mailed it back to her. But your seed phrases should not leave your home. You just have to keep them as secure as you would keep your most prized possessions.
Good thing I didn't find him. No name in there. Lost my train of thought now. We were talking about seed phrase security, never, ever, ever. Darn it.
Even if somebody calls
Oh, let's talk about that real quick. Thank you. There we go. So this is what I was getting into. Most people don't get hacked. People don't break into your computer and steal your stuff. It could happen, but that's not how people lose their crypto. How people lose their crypto is they lose their seed phrase. They can't find it and they never can get back in their wallet because their browser refreshed and now MetaMask is gone and they have to enter it again. They forgot where they put them. They stuck them in a drawer, wife threw them away, whatever. Things happen. That's usually what happens. The other thing is phishing. So MetaMask will never contact you. Try and get a MetaMask support and you won't. What you'll get is a scammer. So if you go to these Telegram rooms, you go to Twitter, you say something about, hey, I need help. I lost my seed phrases. Boom, all of a sudden you're getting messages from MetaMask saying, we can help you. And what they do is they send you to a website and say, here, this is where you're going to enter your seed phrase and get your wallet redeemed. It looks all official, MetaMask, everything. You put your seed phrase in there and boom, your wallet starts draining and you're done. Anybody gets a hold of your seed phrases and they can take it from you. Like I said earlier, a Trezor, a hardware wallet, is a place for you to store your seed phrases and access without connecting them to the internet. That doesn't mean that they're safe in that Trezor from people that can get those seed phrases off a piece of paper that you wrote them on. So remember that. Security is the most important thing. Losing your seed phrases or doing something stupid with them. Never, ever, 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 ever put your seed phrase in anything that you don't know what it is. Go to the person that onboarded you or understand and learn what you're doing. When you go to MetaMask, it's metamask.io. If you go to Internet Money, it's internetmoney.io. Make sure you're going to the proper website to reopen your wallet, because if you do lose your wallet, you can enter your seed phrases and get it back. But just make sure you're going to the right site.
Yeah, another good strategy is to break up your seed phrases. So instead of keeping all 24 words on one piece of paper, I will put 12 words on one paper and 12 words on another paper and keep them in two separate places. That way, if your words get compromised, you know, somebody comes to your house, you know, people can just be doing things. Then they still can't get my seed phrases because it's not all together.
Or do like Vitalik and give your mom your last 5 seed phrases.
Hey, so one of the most powerful things somebody told me about this stuff, security, is that you have to treat it like it's worth multi-million dollars.
Yeah.
Because if you've done your job right and you get in and you've put yourself in there, it could actually be that. And I mean, probably everybody heard about the guy that lost his keys, they're talking about, to Bitcoin, like 200, I mean, who knows how much money, but hundreds of millions of dollars, this guy, and he doesn't know where it is.
Yep.
What happened in Hills, the one that Papa B was helping, where he lost, it was an older gentleman.
Yeah.
70 million.
Yeah.
Something, what's his name?
Hex 19?
Hex 19.
Yeah.
Treat that stuff like it's gold, like lots and lots of gold.
Better than gold.
Yes,
What
better
other
than
questions?
gold.
What other questions you have?
What's your take on the SEC case right now?
Well, if I, you want to speak to it, so
You're live on
number
stream.
one, yeah, he's a little more official, so I can say what I'm. Here's the thing, whenever that came out, and then the price dumped, right? Whenever it came out that the SEC was going to commit a case against Richard, like I was frustrated and I was disappointed, like in the price, but I literally have not been concerned whatsoever that it'd be a problem eventually. I think it's going to resolve itself. Two, not for once have I ever thought that he would like just try to settle, pay him some money, and then because that's what they want. They want to get some money, right, and try to set some kind of precedent.
Control.
Yeah, it's control. That's what they've done over and over again. They don't have a case, and then so here, just look at what happened 40 days ago, whenever Richard's attorneys responded to that, and he has like literally the best attorneys in the world, like the best attorneys in the world. You know, we're talking tens of millions of dollars for this legal team, and that's who responded. I'm not concerned about it. Now, time frame, all this stuff, I have no clue. You know, hopefully it won't be drug out too long, but you know, you saw yesterday there was something interesting, and they wanted to postpone their response because spring break or something. It's like
Yeah.
But anyway, that's personally, that's my take. I'm not concerned with it. Is that what you say? Are you asking like, is it a concern, or are you asking like?
No, I'm just getting your opinion on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not concerned. I just wish that it would be over sooner rather than later. The other thing is I personally, my gut feeling is that he wanted the SEC to come after him. That's my feeling. Knowing what I've read and listening to all of his videos, because what does he want to be? Richard he obviously he wants to see people live longer. He spent a lot of time, energy, and effort before Hex and all that. He was spending effort and money into the Sins Foundation. So he wants to do good in the world. But the number one thing that he seems to want to do is he wants to be the number one guy in crypto. Meaning the guy that everybody looks to and says, wow, that guy is amazing. That's what he wants. Well, how else would you do that except you go up against SEC and you say, no, DeFi is this. DeFi is freedom, and this is what we're standing up for is freedom. And you even have people like Vivek Ramaswamy come out and basically state some of the talking points that Richard's been telling us for years. Like we were at a conference at the Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but Blockchain Summit a few months ago, and Vivek gets up there on he was announcing his platform, and he was like, "Code is speech." Like, where'd you hear that? Probably watching Richard. So you get my point. I mean, we're at this really cool point, I think, in history, and we'll see what happens, what comes out of it.
How many cases have the SEC won lately?
They don't have a very good track record.
So you, David, is it David?
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned something about Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex, and you just and it may not have been you exactly. I think it was. There's a lot of things you threw up there.
Yes.
So anybody can speak to it, but can you just speak to kind of like separating those out, or if they're one thing, saying the same thing, same road in different spaces, broken up? Like what is each one of those definitions?
Absolutely. Hex is going to be your savings account. This is a thing where you want to store, you have value, your time, your energy, instead of it getting sucked away from you from inflation, from all the other things, until you're ready to deploy that, Hex is an encoded way for you to store that value, and when you come back later, you're going to have more Hex. It is a certificate of deposit that was using blockchain technology. And the reason that it is significant is we already have certificate of deposit. We already have blockchain technology. It's the marriage of those two together. It is the specific counterparty risks that are being mitigated for that financial product is why Richard Hart's Hex is such a unique token amongst all of the noise out there. Pulse Chain is a network. It has a token associated with it as well. That's what you use in order to utilize the network, the gas fee that allows, everybody wants to speak, so there's a way of, prioritizing the congestion of what gets out there. So it is a fork of Ethereum. It allows, it has smart contract capability built on top of it. Hex was originally built on Ethereum. Ethereum is the first smart contract platform that we had to gain mass adoption. Bitcoin does not have the capacity that Ethereum has. So Pulse Chain was a response to certain decisions that were made with the Ethereum Foundation that disproportionately affected the way that Hex stakes the fees that were associated with that. Now that's not to give you a parade of imaginary horribles that Hex on Ethereum is going to be unusable. It's most definitely not. It is 100% uptime. It's working flawlessly the way that it was intended, and it will continue. People's expectations, that's their own thing to sort out. But what Richard Hart did was he saw that there were he sacrificed his time, his energy, his emotional bandwidth in order to, he saw something that he thought he could make better, and so he tried to do it. He put together a team that have allowed us to have Pulse Chain, which is Ethereum, but it is without a lot of the counterparty risks that Ethereum currently has in it. I mentioned that BTC is built off of SHA-256, which is an NSA asset. So Ethereum has its history and its foundation, its influences, which you guys can look into. But Pulse Chain is decentralized. It didn't have the venture capitalists, the other ways for people to buy a disproportionate amount of influence the shady ways that have happened in Legacy for so long. Pulse X is an improvement on Uniswap. So Bitcoin was the first, breakthrough in crypto technology. Ethereum was the next one. Uniswap was the next big evolution. Uniswap has, it sounds simple, automated market maker, attaches a ratio where two things are attached, but they made it to where there's a liquid market for you to go to and exchange your assets at any time. So for example, what crypto already had over the stock market's only open Monday through Friday, certain hours. Crypto is open 24/7. Well, that's more true. That couldn't be true without automated market makers. Before, you would still be dependent on centralized authorities to have that open. But the only way they can actually be true is with that market always being available, and it does it through coding and some mathematics. Richard Hart found a way to improve what Uniswap had done, not only from just a
Transaction.
corporate structuring perspective, because they have a foundation and they're taking fee and PulseX does not have that, but also from a technology perspective. So it doesn't have the counterparty risks of some of the government influence and other things that may be happening over in Uniswap Labs. But on top of that, from an economics perspective, it has a buy and burn feature that is one of the ideas and one of the things that Richard Hart has introduced to the crypto system, which is now gaining more mass adoption. So you have Hex, which is your savings account, your CD. You have Pulse Chain, which is the network, which allows you to actually store your Hex and do other things. And PulseX would be the market that you would go to in order to get your Hex, whether you're trading US dollars or other things for it.
Yeah, fantastic explanation. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
So I was going to add a little bit. This is kind of going back to the previous question real quick. How many people here had not heard the name Richard Hart before? So if you went, at least years ago, if you went and you looked up Richard Hart, you would not find a lot of nice things written about this man. So I spent 6 months, like I told you earlier, studying, listening to other crypto content creators. I also had heard, I'd never heard of Richard Hart until I found Hex. Well, after listening for 6 months and feeling so sure about how the contract works that I continued to put money into this contract, I thought, well, I need to figure out who is Richard Hart? Like, why should I trust this dude and this thing that he has made? So I just wanted to add to the list of things that have to do with why this is such a solid project. Richard wrote 2 books, and what I found through reading those books was someone who is genuinely wanting to change the world. Like Danny said, he wants to be one of the greatest men in crypto. I think he wants to be one of the greatest men alive. I think crypto is just a stepping stone for him, and he is going to create, I believe someday, a real life, true hexaco, is what we call it, which would be a nation state, technically, I think. The book Scivive, I love that he says this. He says if his haters really wanted to dig up some dirt on him, they would read the book that he wrote with all of his values, all of his, everything that he's about. They should read this book. And I definitely, if you're interested in learning more about him, and that's kind of maybe the last piece of the puzzle for you, like, really do I want to invest in this? I did the audiobook of Scivive, so you can find my channel. It's at awildsj, and listen to the audiobook, or you can also find it through Telegram. He has the PDFs. But that's just something I really wanted to put out there, because that for me was like I said, like the last piece of the puzzle that made me really truly sure that this was something that I wanted to invest my time and money and energy in.
Say something. I'm gonna take the exact opposite stance for those of you who will never like Richard Hart, right? Because there are many of you who just will not like this man. I was one of them. I came around, but for a lot of people, that's just not a personality that you fit with. He does not matter. And to me, that was the most important part, is that his contract is locked. It's immutable. It can't be changed. He has just as much right to ownership over it as you do. Same thing with the community. That's why we do these events and these educational tours. He doesn't pay us. He doesn't do it himself. He hasn't streamed in over a year. This is our community. These are our tokens. This is our network, and we are the ones who are going to make it be what we want it to be. So that's just, you know.
And that's what decentralized.
He hasn't even said thank you, Richard.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
He didn't mention us. I want to answer a couple questions. So first of all, on Richard, I grew up in the streets of Inglewood, and when I saw Richard, he just seemed to me like somebody who wasn't BSing. You know what I mean? He had this BS appearance and this phony appearance, but when I really looked at him, listened to him, saw the things that he had wrote, I couldn't read the whole book. I'm not a reader. I listen to things, but anyway, I saw that there was somebody there that had a little more depth than what they were talking about, and he was up to something with this whole phony, flashy clothes and weird stuff that he was doing. I'm like, this guy's marketing. There's something going on here. So that's where I put my trust in the project. Now on the SEC thing, I have personal experience with the SEC. They subpoenaed me 4 times, all 3 of my businesses and me personally. They went through all my businesses, turned everything upside down. One of them is the Hex Investment Trust. We have Hex inside of a trust that exists and operates under the auspices of the SEC. They've investigated it twice now. Still operating. They haven't shut us down, haven't said it's a security, none of that stuff. So that was my first experience with the SEC. They subpoenaed me personally, and like I said, all the other businesses. I went to them, told them they sent the subpoena to the wrong address and that they needed to update that. I sent them my information. They never came back to me. So it tells me that they don't really have a case. The other thing I know is that there was a bounty out for crypto founders, anybody that was doing anything illegal that they thought, and it was a $30,000 bounty. This new case up against Richard appears to have come from one of those bounties that somebody in the community or around the community, or a dirty son of a bitch that's around the community, went to the SEC, and I know who you are, and tried to get this bounty. So the case is so full of holes. If you look at it and you read it and you go, man, this looks like Richard wrote this case, to be completely honest, because none of it in there is true. All of the information that they're saying that Richard Hart had, misappropriated funds is all viewable and claimable on the chain, so you can tell and see everything, and there's no there. So it looks like a very weak case, and they're not bringing any attention. It looks like more than likely they're going to end up just dropping it. However, a lot of Hexicans got hurt because that case was brought. Price been going down ever since. So maybe, just maybe, there's a lawsuit out there floating around that somebody might be suing the SEC for hurting the Hexicans. Just saying.
That'd be nice. Richard definitely hinted to that point, that if Richard definitely hinted to that by stating, the laws on that. If basically the people themselves within those institutions going outside of what they were allowed to do by law could be held liable for damages. And so, it'd be easier for them to go after the people individually than it would probably, to go sue the SEC.
And the SEC doesn't even bring real litigation or what do you call it? Richard's only liable for it's just a civil case. There you go. Thank you. It's a civil case, meaning that the only thing the SEC can do is bring a fine to him. He'd pay the fine, and that would be the end of it. But that's not what's going to happen. But like I said, the SEC is just going to bring civil suit against anybody. They cannot put anybody in jail. They don't do that. That's the DOJ that would have to come after us, or Richard, or anybody else.
Any other questions? Who's in the back there? In the back. Mind if we go to that guy in the back real quick? Just.
He's already started. Go ahead. What's the price prediction for
What's your sign?
We're going to make all-time highs this bull market. I can tell you that. That's what I think. We'll hit all-time highs. We went up to 54 cents, 56 cents, somewhere around there. We'll hit all-time highs.
So my question is for anyone of these 4. All fairness, David's a friend of mine. I get to talk to him kind of daily or weekly. I'm playing catch up. He introduced me to Richard Hart like a year ago, maybe a little more, but I've been watching recently. I've been able to finally have the time to start watching countervailing videos, other videos So here's my general question, right? So we used to have barter and then gold and then money, and now we're moving into the crypto market where we're gonna have the ability to not have an overlord function over it. So in y'all's opinion, why do you think that Hex versus Eve is gonna be one of the countervailing, and why Pulse Chain versus the Ethereum network is gonna come out on top as kind of one of the prevailing markets to use as compared to the others? Right now, we've got we've got several hundred different crypto coins,
Yeah.
thousands, right?
So basically, your question is like, what sets apart this ecosystem?
Why Hex, yeah, why Hex, why Pulse Chain?
Are you saying what sets apart? So I think that's a very good question. And number one, I would say, so the two things to compare, if you're talking about, I would say Ethereum versus Pulse Chain. Okay, right? Because that's the equivalent over here. Let me ask you this question. I'm gonna answer your question. The question: when's the first time you heard about Ethereum?
4 years ago?
4 years ago. Did you buy a bunch of it whenever it was cheap? Like 4 years, like I said 4 years ago, it wasn't that cheap 4 years ago, but so yeah, maybe $200 or so. So it's maybe $3,000 today. So it's like we're 10 times now. The economic energy behind that. Now, Ethereum was available for much cheaper. People bought it for 30 cents. I think it's what it launched for, right? So then it's up 3,000 bucks. The further something goes out, further it's been out, the more mass adoption there is, the less opportunity for growth. So he just told you about Pulse Chain a year ago, right? And most people that I brought have never heard about Pulse Chain. So that most people that you talk to, go out there and ask them about the Pulse Chain. Nobody knows anything about it. Some people are gonna know about Ethereum. So when you'd rather be involved in something whenever it's newer, it has more energy for this economic exponential growth, or something that's already been out there that doesn't have as much. It's further along in its S curve. So Bitcoin is not gonna hit $1 million this cycle, right? So it can't hit that. So that's number one. Number two is that the energy that we have on Pulse Chain as a brand new chain, because we're a brand new layer one with a couple hundred projects, with all the influencers, it's never been seen. You can't even compare what other networks have ever started with. It's all this pent up energy that's ready to explode.
With solid state copy though.
Yeah, and there's other things this gentleman just mentioned about that everything that was on Ethereum has been copied over. That's never been done before. So what that means is there may be some projects that wake up and go, we have value. Every single person that had value on that side has value over here. Not that it's one-for-one value in terms of dollar-wise, but it's one-for-one in terms of what you receive. So they may say, man, we got value over here. Let's start providing liquidity. That's what he built PulseX for. That's what he gave everybody the copy for, so they can provide liquidity and bridge the value over. So that's never been done. There's all these things that are just, I would say, build as to why there's so much more economic energy and pent up here that's going to allow it to project forward.
Yeah, and
So-
the biggest reason.
So Danny's talking about the value. I'll just talk about the fundamentals and break it down a little easier so people can understand some of the words that he was talking about. So the Pulse Chain is a whole new network that is going to start what's called the chain wars, in my opinion. It's going to be a multi-chain crypto universe. We're not going to just have 1, 2 blockchains. This is the winner. Now we're starting to get cross-chain compatibility. That's what's happening. This is a new technology that's emerging. So I'm seeing what's going to happen is chain wars. You're going to have new chains coming out, old chains getting filled up, more chains forking off of there. You're going to get multi-chains and people crossing value over. And that's what he was talking about, the liquidity and value crossing back and forth. You're going to start seeing it a lot in crypto. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin and Hex, just the fundamentals, when I talked about it up here earlier, Bitcoin is built on dilapidated old code. It's a chain also. Not only is it a crypto, but it's a chain. So that technology is old, dilapidated, and Hex is better than that. Why? Because it's built on Solidity. It's built with what Ethereum produced, which was the code that has modular compatibility. You don't have to worry about spaghetti code or bugs or any of those types of things. That's why Hex has been running for 4 years, for almost 5 years flawlessly. So that's just the fundamentals of it all. It's better tech, and it's also, there is not going to be one chain rules the world. It's going to be a multi-chain world. So getting into something early at the beginning, wait for Richard to come out and Ford Pulse Chain in a few years.
Hex is a better Bitcoin, Pulse Chain is a better Ethereum, PulseX is a better Uniswap. You've seen what Bitcoin has done, Hex can do better. You've seen what Ethereum has done. Everything that you can do on Ethereum, you can do on Pulse Chain.
Cheaper and faster.
From a technical perspective, but not everything that you can do on Pulse Chain can you do on Ethereum. Some things that you might be able to theoretically do, you would be priced out on in Ethereum. So that's going to be consistent, but also everything that was on Ethereum 7, 8, 9 months ago is on Pulse Chain already. There are things on Pulse Chain that do not exist on Ethereum. So Pulse Chain is a better Ethereum, Hex is a better Bitcoin, PulseX is a better Uniswap. These are 3 cryptos that exist right now and haven't entered the top of their S curve yet. You might be even at the bottom before the knee of the curve, to where it has deceptive period of trailing growth. Because 0.001 doubling becomes 0.002, becomes 0.004, and it looks like 1 for a long time until it hits 2, 4, 8, and then it just blasts off. You have your question. There's a lot of things out there. Most of them are going to die, right? That's just a natural truth of everything. We're lucky that we happen to be the ones that are here that get to participate in the things that survive. We're lucky that any of this stuff exists and that any of it works at all. Bitcoin and Ethereum and Uniswap have track records that you can use as a measuring stick and then see what makes the coins that we've talked about better, why we've said they're better, why we're holding a Pulse Chain event, not an Ethereum event. And that's the final reason I'm going to give you. The reason that Pulse Chain is better is because I'm in it. No, for me,
Yeah, the community.
like the reason that Pulse Chain is better for me is because it's the one that makes the most sense for me to use. No, and that what makes it what it is are the people who are attracted to it because of the utility and because birds of a feather flock together. So you're finding it's a group of people that I enjoy being around. It's a group of people that I tend to associate with and find more shared values and trust a little bit more than your average bear, because you can't, as much as crypto is about mitigating counterparty risk, you can't mitigate all counterparty risk from your life. That is a trustless life. Counterparty risk and trust are the same thing. What you need to do is be wise about where you're placing your trust and be conscious and be intentional and not as haphazard. And that's what crypto allows you to do, is to have more access over those pulleys and levers. But these 3 are the ones that exist now, and you know what? In 10 or 20 years, there are going to be other coins that don't even exist. In the next cycle, there are going to be coins that don't exist right now that are going to be worth talking about. I'm not, whether they fall in scale as better or worse than the ones that we're talking about today. I'm not claiming that something better is going to come along, but it's going to be worth understanding, knowing, paying attention to, spending some time on, learning, and doing what makes sense to you.
Just say what you said again. Bitcoin's a what, and Ethereum's a better Bitcoin, and Pulse Chain's a better Uniswap.
Bitcoin got its.
Hex is a better Bitcoin.
Yeah, Hex is a better Bitcoin. Bitcoin gained traction. The narrative that actually caught on was a store of value. It stores value through the monetization of energy. It does that through proof of work. Hex is a better Bitcoin because it stores value better in a more secured, isolated consensus code.
With yield.
With yield. And it's storing that based off the monetization of time versus the monetization of energy. And I could go into physics real now.
We're not going to do that.
No, we're not. But it is just exponentially mathematically better.
Right on.
Hex better Bitcoin, Pulse Chain better Ethereum, PulseX better Uniswap.
Right on.
I think the best answer I heard was kind of a combination of that. I understood his point with the community, and that's very important for people dealing with other people.
Yeah.
But the combination of the 2 of yours, that last one kind of clicked. There will be more than one chain out there that works with the others, so it's not about which one's going to be in the end which one is going to be there past the other one. It's that each one of them does something slightly different
Mm-hmm.
that is gonna actually be working with the others.
Exactly. And don't forget, when we say Hex is a better Bitcoin, Bitcoin did a 6 million X. Hex has only done a 10,000 X. So we still got a long ways to go, guys.
He said
Long ways to
X,
go.
Also, that's how we measure for those new folks. We measure that's 100%, right? So X is, instead of percentage, because, 600 million percentage is kind of hard to say. So we say,
What's awesome?
All right, guys, we're going to finish up the raffle now.
You can't talk about it that way.
I will make one last point, which is just that also a lot of people have the default assumption in competition, you're good, that they put it into a win-lose scenario by default, but in healthy competition, everybody can win. You can each get better. So if you're being more intentional in understanding that, we can have win-win scenarios even in a competitive environment.
All right, raffle time.
Woo, more free stuff. Yay.
All right. So as we call the numbers, it's kind of like a first come, first serve thing, except for the final 3 numbers. So as we call the numbers, come and pick your prize. After we run out of these prizes, then we will do the crypto giveaway. We are doing 3 different crypto giveaways. We are doing 2 million PulseX, 2 million Pulse, and 22 million Texas. So, all right, let's get this thing going. That you can stay for 22 years. All right, last 3 digits, 862.
862. Yeah.
All right, come on up and grab something.
Come on down.
I'll get it for you.
And these are coasters.
A hat coming in the mail.
859. Number 859.
All right, come on up.
T-shirt, mouse pad.
I'll get the t-shirts.
Awesome.
Nice, nice. Yeah, well,
Thank you.
You might need your ticket.
no, you won't.
No? Okay.
855.
855.
You go.
855.
All right, come on.
Here.
Here, Bill.
I was gonna eat it again.
Too much cool.
What do you think?
Just grab one.
I don't know. I know
You know the
Crypto
books?
Graphics is great, so
Huh?
go for it. You can't
Yeah.
miss it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, sure.
All right, next number is 851. 851. 8511. The next winner,
877.
877. All
All
right.
right, come on up.
Behold
So this is.
the plethora of things you may choose from.
I like that texture better.
Very nice. Next winner is 864. 864.
864.
864 going once.
Going twice.
864 going twice. 843. Number 843. Come on.
Somebody early.
I'll take the hat.
All right.
Lovely. All right, we got 2
Oh.
thingamajiggies left. Next number is 863. 863. Number 863 going once. 863 going twice.
One more, and then to get to the crypto.
Okay, one we're just gonna do one more. Number 844. 844, sir? Is that you? Come on down.
We got a mouse pad.
I don't know. Look at this. I mean,
Back. It's perfect for you.
I was thinking, man.
you know what? I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Nice. That's my Make It Miriam.
All right.
All right, one more. No, crypto. Crypto. All right, we're doing
gonna
crypto.
get to the crypto now.
All right.
All
Drum
right.
roll, please.
So this is 2 million PulseX.
2
If you
million
win
Pulse.
the
PulseX.
crypto, yes,
First?
PulseX.
Okay,
PulseX
PulseX.
first.
You're
If
saying that mine would have been there if 860.
You love that.
If you win the crypto, then you have to find me on your preferred social media and message me your address so that I can send it. The sooner you send it, the sooner I send it. Because I practice bad crypto and I do it on my phone, so I can do it right now.
All right, and the winner of 2 million Pulse X, 854.
I know it's coming.
Yeah, wow, congratulations. Yeah, you're up.
So you message me.
Excellent.
All right. So Pulse, 2 million Pulse.
2 million Pulse, PLS, 865.
Oh,
Alrighty,
you
congratulations.
did say that you take all cryptos.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and 22 million
Texas.
Texan token, yeehaw, 879. Woo! All right, find her on social media. Yeah. Or come up to her and get that address there. All right, are we don't leave me. Don't leave me.
She's gonna tell me how to.
Okay. Oh, but that's it. Hey, thank you everybody for coming to this Real Estate Meets Crypto seminar. It has been lovely. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
That's right. I actually think that have that steak.
Let me go find the other ones. All right. So you have Twitter, right?
I think so. Ask them. Tell me something. I tell people. Tell me something about this. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey. Hey, live stream. We haven't forgot about you, I promise. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Most of you, I think, subscribed, so you'll be able to see us in Vegas, and then Salt Lake City, and then Europe. So we might be going somewhere between Salt Lake and when we get to the cruise in Italy. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. Woo!